definitely nothing very important that is sitting on those that Sangyong holding that number in that second card and then he definitely when Sangyong had got that number like the second card like initially like and the might have in the game work that might have totally picked up like the call and might have been speaking to Sangyong but like once Sangyong stated his name about the like it might have definitely been like the like that dream of the metal changed with like the front man, like it might have been like the front man from that point on, might have been like inviting you like Sanjo. Definitely my brother then like from man at that point telling Sanjo to like basically just get on the plane if like Sanjo knows like what's good for him. Along the lines like the front man even saying that all that would be just like an absolute fake act to totally eventually endure to totally eventually like tempt Sancheon to like basically re-enter back into like this video and this will be totally according to like that the still the audit of like in them to like in hope. So definitely my book the forest that was definitely my book to totally punish Sancheon. Definitely my book because like I'm reading like initially in them I don't totally expect like Sancheon to not be able to like this would be all like in them revenge on like the old man as well as like Sanjay and Sanjay is definitely one of the right person. So like I'm looking like in like the 2026 game like Ilna might have like expected that Sanjay to now be able to like survive again like the 2020 first 2026 game was definitely one of the but like since like Sanjay has survived like I'm looking like before Ilna that like Ilna might have assigned like info as with like what they plan to on like before it's that as to like how the info should get revenge on like Santiago. Like it's the clear of them, but like, I'm thinking definitely I'm still thinking to my rendition that like in that subway that basically that very same person who initially had played that Sanjon had played that ball from the card onto like the floor game with like basically him once again coincidentally precisely at that moment like basically once again right now after like Sanjon winning the game that right now once again, like Saigon, only seeing him given that as well totally might have been an absolute trap. Specifically sold and sold it at what Saigon, I don't feel like. But that absolute self in a convincing manner left with Saigon into like basically usually that way so that like Saigon would be getting his hands on that to gain cup once again. And like basically for that like basically to make it like hidden and basically so that like Sangyeon won't be able to like realize that like this good game like the info and like info like trying to like trick and lure Sangyeon into like once again falling into the trap of this game for like Sangyeon to not be able to like realize that and basically that way like for Sangyeon to like once again naively fall into like the duo luring and trapping into like falling into like once again playing like the game. It's definitely my personal impression. So definitely, like even like that frontman telling San Jones to like get on the plane instead of like a fake act to like totally tempt San Jones to like on that frontman had said at that point and basically for San Jones to like not get into like the plane but to that participate in like the religion of the game and right now my impressions that like the 2021st game as well would be most likely in like the very same place as like not like Amberman might be in like a different island, but would be in like the very same country as like that. Franklin right now is in with the new end of Remission. Since like the Squid Game, I think has like one more season three. I think like basically. So like I'm thinking maybe it would be in season three that I'm looking like Sangyeon will be like traveling to like America and basically Sangyeon will be preparing for Sangyeon to like play like, the games in America. That's definitely my preference. But like right now I'm looking like and the precise reason for like the precise for coming from like the precise like for subway incident just like through which like Sanjeev right now having got like once again got like Julian card and just like Sanjeev right now definitely speaking to like the some man through phoning through that number and like get card and all that like this whole happening right now at this point in like Sanjeev's life it is especially and solely due to like my comprehension is that like it was especially due to like the 2020 first good game would be right now about to begin. And like if Sanjun right now gets on that plane and leaves to America to like meet his daughter, then Sanjun would be totally missing that. Then like they won't be able to like go and bring back Sanjun. They will be like missing that chance to like they will trap Sanjun into like the 2020 first good game. It's definitely not the benefit. So like especially to ensure that Sanjun doesn't get on that plane, but like return back to that civilian and they don't think like the good So game will be the reason for like all this happening in like Nanjing's life, but right now, it's the film of the 300. Also, the film of the 300 right now, for like the current episode name, called like Threat and Lottery. Like, my 300 as for what Threat would be, also for like Threat would be most like the reference to the, that to getting that daily bread, that daily grind. Definitely, that daily grind to like survive. It's definitely, literally was like, hinted through Threat. It's definitely one of the 300. And as for like, what would be a lottery and suffering lottery would be like Sangyo getting like the chance to like get full custody of the daughter. That's like the situation right now. That's like of like an offer that's like a different like without this great delay would be like offered in front of like Sangyo without much great delay. Like the scenario that I'm looking. So like the feeling of friend right now is basically like this would all be and this would be all part of like Ilham's like ultimate revenge that he had like for like Sangyo that had assigned he might not be assigned to like even though like the front man in how before his stuff as it like last week in the flavor with rainbow. So like I'm going to bring like right now like info would be like totally I'm going to bring like most likely without next great delay I'm going to bring like either Sanjon making one more call with that same to that very same number in that's the game card or like I'm going to bring like with like Sanjon right now deciding not to like enter into that plane and leave for America and Portugal, like maybe without much great delay, Sang Jones proceeding another call. And that will be from Vector from man again. That's the scenario that I'm looking for. So, like, I was exactly one more call happening. And in that call, I'm going to bring exactly like the front man making like information that ultimate offer for Sang and I'm going to definitely since like the episode name is like Fred and Lottery. I'm going to bring like the trap that like the ultimate trap that I'm going to bring like how like the front man will be setting for like Sanjon at that point would be like I'm going to think the front man calling most likely calling Sanjon and like man telling Sanjon that basically if Sanjon or like I'm bring like Sanjon that or like the possibility that I'm going to bring is like Sanjon right now with like Sanjon telling like the front that like that they are people and not forces that they could like bet on and all that. Like I'm wondering right now, maybe it's Gion maybe coming to like this, maybe to like actually infiltrate into like to in the name of like entering and to play like in like the 2021st Squid Games. Gion maybe like deciding to like to Jason to like basically that like, enter into like the 2021st Squid Games with like that ultimate intent to like that way to from within like this begin to like for Sanjay to like get like this Indian candidates to listen to like Sanjay and for Sanjay to like form his like a team of like a great number of Indian candidates like to be participating in like the joint with Indian like for Sanjay to like use of the like experience like that superior experience in playing like games that Sanjay have to like his advantage to like really get a lot of like 2021st Indian candidates on Sanjay's side to like basically so that way, to get them all to like basically fight against like the Squid Game, fight and bring down like the Squid Game butler as well as like the front man. And that way to like for like Sanjon along with like that great number of to get all the great number of Indian candidates like as much as Sanjon can to like listen to like Sanjon and force them to like collectively in a strategical manner to like attack and bring down like the civilian all the civilian workers in like the 2021st civilian building as well as like bring down like the front man. And that way like for Sanjon to like basically that way put an end to like the civilian uh, would be like Sanjon's surveillance plan. So like in next and Sanjon's strategy which I'm also bringing would be like in exchange for like to get all the civilian candidates to like team up and help with like Sanjon and listen to Sanjon like the offer that Sanjon would be planning to make would be like that way like by bringing like the civilian workers down as well as like the front man down like basically Sanjon telling them that like he would like that way they will be able to like get all that money to like that last piggy bank would be along the lines like I'm considering like Sanjon would be totally planning and settling over there. So like I'm considering maybe like Sanjon's plan will be to like basically Sanjon is the only thing that basically like forming a team like before like the first game in like 2021st game would be like only impossible would be along the line Sanjon with the team because like Sanjon would only think that like absolutely none of like those two candidates who would have never like I was only expecting like all the Sugian candidates that will be entering, except for Sanjay, like all the remaining Sugian candidates that will be entering in like the first Sugian won't be like believing Sanjay, no matter what Sanjay says about like the game being such an extremely dangerous flight for the game. And I would think so. Like I'm considering maybe Sanjay thinking along the lines of like basically to have like those good game candidates like awesome go through like the very first good game so that like through experience like them realizing how extremely dangerous like the 20 like how extremely dangerous this game is so that like at that point when they would all be scared and worried and they'll be like totally in fear like at that point for like Sanjay to like totally make us move and basically to be that like whole beacon of hope for like all those worried Indian candidates, and that way for Sanjay to seize the position of like a leader and basically to form his like youth group of like a lot of a bunch of like Indian candidates and for them to like actually work together to basically bring down like the game workers as well as like the front man. And in exchange, like I don't know, we're totally planning on like basically, and this is after like the first two games would be over. Like since definitely like a lot of game candidates would be dying like that one, and like so that way like a lot of money would be falling into that the glass piggy bank, which would be displayed to like all these game candidates. So like at that point for Sanjion to like strategically like form a bunch of group and for Sanjion to be the leader and like the group like Sandro was only planning for and hoping for that group of like 16 candidates only listening to like Sanjon. If Sanjon tells them that like in exchange for them listening to Sanjon and doing everything Sanjon wants, like Sanjon will be ensuring them that they will that like they get all that money in like that last visit and once like they will be bringing down those good game workshops as well as like the format would be along the lines of like strategy that like Sanjay will be planning, especially my personal and person. Uh, so like my personal impressions were like basically like for like scenario that I'm preparing for like Sanjay right now with like him taking the decision to like not like take the flight like I'm preparing Sanjay right now would be like singing and basically forming up such strategy that are for the right now and like is that even intend to like eventually enter into like the 2021st game and destroy like eventually that way destroy and put an end to like this game and with like Sanjay like deciding to like basically put on like fake act and basically like Sanjay totally deciding to like once again calling that number in like this VM card and like telling me that like Sanjay wants to enter in like the 2021st game. It's like the scenario that I was getting. So like at that point, I'm also working like this is like the least likely scenario that I'm doing rather than like a frontman like after like a few hours like this once again calling Sangyon. So like the scenario that I'm doing. Anyway, in that next call that between like the frontman and Sangyon, I'm going to present like in that call like definitely the frontman would be making an offer to like Sangyon. It's like the scenario that I'm going to write. Since like Sangyon is already like the winner it already has one like the stadium one like that. For Sanjyon re-entering back into like game and something like the front only making an offer to like Sanjyon. And that offer would be what would be connected to like the episode name Bread and Lottery. Certainly permission because like I was like the offer that the front man would be making for Sanjyon an offer or like not just an offer but also there would be a condition as well that like the front man would be taking to Sanjyon and that would be like the ultimate revenge that like Ilna might have assigned like someone different info before his death. So couldn't remember the rest. So like that offer of condition that like the frontman at that point would be making to Sanjon to give that like if Sanjon ends up like playing like the 2021st game and winning like the 2021st game, then like Sanjon will be getting full custody of his like daughter. This will be like the initial offer that like the frontman will be making. But like the frontman will be also like making a condition as well as that player sells for Sanjon liability. Even if Sanjon wins like the 2011 first good game, and then Sanjon is getting like then he will be ensuring that Sanjon gets like full custody of the store. Yet there's also a condition that like even if Sanjon wins like the 2011 first good game, like as part of like, the condition, like even though Sanjon will be getting full custody of the store, like Sanjon would have to like give up all his like money to this like precise account with your like the frontman will be paying like and that would be able to run most likely the account of like the frontman. So like I'm going to telling Sanjon to like for Sanjon to like give up all of the like reward money that he had won in like the 20 Squid game to this like account after like winning like the 2020 first Squid game and then for Sanjon to like work as like a Squid Game worker for like the remaining of like Sanjon's life for that daily bread for like Sanjon like survive Sanjon would have to like work as like a Squid Game worker from after like winning the 2021st game, and like yeah, that's like the condition. But like in exchange, like the lottery would be like Sanjeon. If Sanjeon wins like the 2021st game, like Sanjeon will be getting like full custody of the lot. Like so, like, this would be what I'm looking for. Like would be like referred to through like this is the precise reason for like and my personal mentions that like this is my it's definitely my personal prediction as well like the precise reason for like the current episode name being like bread and a lottery. Definitely my personal prediction right now. Oh, so like the Indian Instagram itself right now is like I'm getting like the phone call, which championship right now would be precisely from like that phone call would precisely from like the front man info like new and you know like the front man showing concern after like this we Sanjon has nowhere else to go like literally the front man even saying that like Sanjon or that would be a fake at to totally to like increase that like reach within like Sanjon towards like the Squid and even like the front man would have only observed Sanjon after like even winning like the overall experience as well as like might have observed Sanjon even after becoming getting all the reward money and even like then that with the past year like the tournament might have observed like observed like Sanjon's revenue observation like like recently like when Sanjon had basically met and talked with like Indian as well that even that whole my reservation side, like even that in interaction between like Sangyeong and in that sky building and all that would be like being monitored by like the format. Definitely by it's definitely my reservation. So like definitely by now might have gotten but definitely my reservation side like by now like info would be like only generally feeling that they have like kind of like after like observing Sangyeong for so long like info would be totally giving us like kind of like an almost like full idea of like the kind of personality and character that of like Sangron and so like involved with only having that also know that like how to like trick Sangron into that eventually how to like interact him to with feeling as like specifically as like how to exactly interact with like Sangron, how to like create that tension so that that way to like to potentially create that temptation for like Sangron which would be and that way to do a Frank Jones like entering like especially into the game. Like it would like info would be like right now doing all that like interaction with like Frank Jones and all that after studying Frank Jones thoroughly or after feeling as a feeling of study Frank Jones thoroughly just definitely one of the brain picture. And I'm also like even after like in I'm dying like I'm definitely putting like there would be deep down like there would be like that genuine good sides within like info yet like and that would be the process reason for like info for me like feeling that absolute pain as like Import had basically used this weapon on Jun-ho, definitely the brother Jun-ho, definitely was the emergent. But like Ambassador like Info still would be like working as like a front man for all these years like and Ambassador like Info like definitely like Ilnam might be like the father of that Info. It's also definitely one of the emergent. So like so like definitely still thinking the mind of the emergent that like it will definitely be Ilnam twin brother won't be like the exact same thing having like exact look like has like enough that would be like that twin brother of Ilnam would be that actually in actuality will be most likely Sangyong's father is the human right and he might have been like the precise like old man with, like dementia that might have that played like the first three games with like Sangyong might have been like scenario that might have happened at the mentioned so like for like like still thinking about the mention that after like winning like the first game like once like third man dementia had basically went to like use the bathroom like at that point might have been when like I was thinking like Ilnam might have only sent maybe like the front man and basically or like one like two game of the and like they might have taken the life of like Ilnam's brother like that twin brother Sanjay's father might have been what might have happened and Ilnam then might have so badly wanted to like experience like the Squid Game by playing the Squid Game so like I'm wondering that might have been what like Ilnam might have done through like the first Squid Game while Ilnam might have showed up through like the first Squid Game this guys as like the old man they might have when in actuality there might have been a like the absolute wicked by Ilna to experience like the fourth game. And I was different like and I was different like while playing like the Marvel game with like Sandy on like I was like Ilna might have totally wanted like and definitely I was different like Ilna's twin brother who be like Sandy's father like he might have totally like Ilna during his childhood might have always lost to like Sandy's father like Ilna's twin brother and since then might have had that absolute grudge and jealousy towards like Sanjay's father since then definitely one of the Rich. So definitely sort of name was different like over the years like I'm different like even though Inna might have been totally expecting for like Sanjay's father. The old man dementia who might be like the old man dementia like to basically like not make it towards like the uh, make it to all the way to like the completing like the third studio like even though Inna might have totally expected like the old man the dementia to like die in like the very first red light screen like to get intelligent itself that simply he has kept on going and winning that first, second, and third game. Like at that point, like I'm looking in might have only extremely like fucking bottom frustrated and might have wanted like take ensure that like the old man like he takes the life of like the like twin brother or like the old man might have been fortunate to have it. So like that might be how like the old man might have died. So like that was the references when let's see like once again like the whole childhood deja vu memory might have kicked in for like in on seeing like seeing brother once again like succeeding in like the first, second and third same the game as well. So definitely references. So like even after taking like the life of like Hillman's like twin brother like Sanjal's father like basically like while Ilna might have also badly for a long time might have wanted to like also experience like this experience in like in actually actually play the games along with the game and so like that way like I'm like during like the fourth game like Ilna might have played like the might have potentially even set up like the fourth game to be like to be of such a nature of that of like the Marvel game so that like Ilnam could like so can then easily try out like the Marvel game to like so as almost like as like the time would be about to be over so that like Ilnam could like that as itself would be able to like escape while concealing his identity after like experiencing like the live gameplay of like the Squid game is definitely what like Ilnam's plan might have been wrong. Definitely not the same person. So like also the claim of the impressions were like in like some Marvel Squid game and like the first Squid game in like the Squid game like Ilnam purposefully losing to like Sanjon might have been also due to that maybe Ilnam being so extremely frustrated by then with like Sanjon's father like winning like the first three Squid games and Vietnam that way being forced to like basically, even though like the ultimate revenge that Vietnam might have wanted for his like twin brother, Sanjay's father might have been to have like Sanjay's father die suffering that by losing in one of like the Korean this definitely his might have been his like absolute goal and desire, villain of kind of like desire. But like since like she was able to that happened like on the forum like what Nam might have decided might have been like Nam might have been so extremely frustrated and angry due to that reason and I think that might be the reason for like in Nam maybe like purposefully deciding to like lose to like Sanjo in like the fourth game was definitely my consideration because like I was like rather than like having Sanjo die uh, by losing in that Marvel Full game with like Innam like I was like Innam might have wanted like Sanjo to like suffer even more and like Sanjo to like suffer to the extreme and basically die in one of like the next two games and since like Innam might have already fixed what like the might have been even back then like Innam might have already fixed as to like what the fifth good game would be for like or like I was like it could be that like Innam might have already decided the physical game to be like that. So an extremely difficult and like one of the three most difficult game of like the last physical game. Definitely with Remember. So like I was like Inna might have been only expecting like Sanjo to like die in like the Inna might have wanted Sanjo to like with that to experience that absolute fear and basically to suffer and die in like the last for it to get might have been like enough plan exactly remember the name. Maybe that might be the reason told it for like a name, maybe that purposefully choosing to like Sanjon in like the Marvel game. It's also like near what to do that and this and that. So like basically my first impressions are like right now even after like Ilnam that's like basically like in hope would be like some of Ilnam like basically it would be right now it would be ensure that it would be like carrying on the time of Ilnam which would be to like ensure to like deliver the ultimate suffering for like Sanjon it's definitely my preference. That way, for me, to get revenge on not only like the Sanjon father, but also on Sanjon as well as on my definitely like in terms like dying with is definitely my preference. So definitely like as for like info right now, who will be like carrying on that dying with of Vietnam, even after like in that like I'm losing the process. The reason might be that right now my preference is that for what might have happened in like the 20 15 Squid Game where like Info had participated, like what might have happened would be um, like I was thinking to my mentioned that like exactly like since it's like how like the game journey of like one of like that top the game candidate but like he hasn't used close as to like what the upcoming game was like I'm thinking like it might have been a similar situation for info during like info like 2015 journey of this game so that maybe so like info might have been like steadily receiving close one after like another as to like what like the next game would be during like his journey in like the 2015 games that and that way like Info might have finally won like the 2015 studio and during then like I'm doing like frontman might have been like in like front uh one of Inlam with front is the name of famous and like I'm doing what might have happened would be like finally after like Info won like the 2015 game like what might have happened would be like at that point itself like according to like Inlam's orders like the frontman at that point might have sort of in front of like info and might have brought info to like the frontman alone might have brought info to like the secret room where within like the game building where like Ilnam would be staying in is definitely one of the premises. So like they are like ambassador like Ilnam what Ilnam might have done might have been like even back then like Ilnam might have taken off his mask and might have made the ultimate reveal to the info that basically that he is that his father because like the claim has impression that like in and straight away like in or like I was putting like scenario might have been like in like best friend bringing according to like in photos like in best friend who might have been like the fun man like bringing info to that room of like in and in straight away seeing info and basically Ilnam straight away without taking Ilnam's marks, like Ilnam straight away, like using his weapon and taking the life of like good friend, like the front man back then, just remember the and like info will it only talk guns to just like what's happening. So like right then I'm like Ilnam might have taken off his mask and Ilnam might have told like info that basically that he is like info that father. Definitely remember. So Islam might not only might have been maybe like accepting of like the possibility of like in hope at that point like basically possibly taking um in numbers like it's definitely my opinion. Because like at that point like basically while making that reveal it might have been what might have happened is definitely my opinion. So like while making that reveal like in hope's plan info might in numbers plan might have been like in numbers for like a long time might have wanted to see his son. Definitely remember everything like info because like in like the bus like I'm looking like even before like starting like the 1919 like in I'm starting like the 1999 the game itself like I'm looking like eventually like Ilnam wife might have figured found out about the extreme villainous nature of like Ilnam and basically Ilnam wife might have actually felt concerned for her children which might have been just info back then. So like I'm wondering if that concern like what info's mother might have done might have been like she might have gotten divorced on that in and might have taken away info that way like even back then and back then like info might have been sort of being the or like might have even been a baby just new to so like so like I was wondering it might have been after that like info so like mother might have gotten remarried and that might be how like Jun-ho might have been ended up uh, being like the brother. So like I was wondering like as Info grew up, like maybe Info might have overheard like maybe like the conversation between his mother and John-Ho's father and maybe like that day like Info might have literally as he grew up like at some point like he might have realized that the person he thought was his like father is like actually John-Ho's father alone that Info's father is like actually somebody else that so like basically since then like info might have been badly listened to the able to like make it proper so like on the internet it might have been like after like info training like the 2020 so 2015 to give that I'm looking like once like in might have someone info uh through content back then like it might have been at that point that in might have made this reveal to like info that like he is like the he's like in his father. So like at that point I was and like Kinna might have told info that basically that info is not going to get any reward money. So like my impression that like at that point maybe like what my Kinna might have then told info back then might have been that like Ilham is not going to give info any reward money, but like Ilham wants that for the rest of Ilham's life, like Ilham wants that info by his side. So like I was about like maybe Ilham might have told info that basically like Ilham it was not going to get any reward money for winning like the 20 to 50 games, and instead like info like, and that was like the first reason for like also like to have like like not shy in like the when you in like the student and to also have like info always by like in side like maybe around this line like in might have told info that basically this was the first reason for like him like in like basically giving steadily giving all these clues like this and that time it was like in to that like info had basically received all this like clues. I feel like what the next game is like during info's like journey in like the 2050 game will be along the lines like info at that point Undam at that point would be revealing to like info like the scenario that I'm about to bring. So like I'm looking like Undam that we are revealing to like info that is really info's not going to get any reward money yet like I'm looking like Undam trading info that is really yet like Undam would be like slowly clearing like the eventually clearing the depth of like info bit by bit as long as like info was in like the in like this Squid game as like the front man as long as like info accepts like the position of like the front man as got like the front man each and in like this Squid game building each year like basically so like my good remembrances were like that might have been maybe like what might have like what Inna might have told info that basically that Inna won't be giving like info like the reward money, but like as long as like info works like stuff from that for the stuff is like that that info would be able to like survive would be that along the lines like back then might have told info especially when it's members or like from in those point of view, like even though Info might have not gotten like the reward money like back then, and the bring like still from Info's point of view, like and Info was like standard with like situation, but like Info has to like work as like the from for like the remaining of the like might have been what might have happened. Yet like some of the like from Info's point of view, how for like for quite a long time might have badly wanted to like me to like to father and to use it like to father. So like I was like for info like I was like at that point like info might have not said no or like might have not reacted angry at all to that in limit. Info might have agreed and taken up the job of it and went back then. Might have since then this definitely what might have happened is like new development. So like this will be the precise reason for like right now even if like in that like info will be like still be having that even though it so even though like back then like, having realized that in villains of like in film friend there will be that actual like bond to of like a father son bond that between that in him and in might be the reason for like info maybe even like ignoring like the between the nature of like in but still like info might have felt maybe like kind of like a feeling of comfort while in like the presence of like in and info might have not wanted to like engage in influence especially with friends because like in for like the majority of his lives might have been suffering for in with like co-father like is that me man look family so like this might be there's a reason for like my transition right now that they will even after like in that like info right now will be trying to like fulfill like in like language and which might be to like to ensure that expansion suffers to the extreme before expansion right is definitely might have been the emergence. So like this might be the reason for like info right now would be putting on like fake act to like ensure that like to that way to those like info right now by now the take only has studied like the gap patterns of that expansion and it's not kind of like having an idea like how to deal expansion is definitely my preference. So like right now through all this like fake acting, which will be what info we are right now doing that info we're trying to like endure expansion into like 2020 first Squid Game. So definitely my very impression. So definitely I'm also from that as part of like the deal like I was from recently for like the frontman and who to like make good song you like that league. As part of like the deal I'm sitting to make a position like even if like as one of like the leads will be like song you even if like still seeing the members revelation that like it will be like the offer will be like Sanjay getting full custody of the daughter. Sanjay wins like the remaining first KTM. But like the as part of like but also there will be that condition that like if even Sanjay wins like the 26th of good game and gets full custody of his daughter, still Sanjay will be having like to the like the game building each year and what have like a skill game what for like the remaining of his life. And that Sanjay will have to like basically give back all of the reward money to like the account of like um to this account that like info business bank this should be like info for account and basically like even though Sanjay will be getting full custody of his property which like I'm looking like info maybe somehow be able to like make it happen through like maybe like all that power and influence that like info the right now having because like enough that like info right now what we have is access to like all that influence and power that like Illa might have made in his life that never been so like info might have that way like I'm giving the scenario to be like info making that as like the from making this reveal to like Sanjo about this offer and this condition that like Sanjo would have to like give up not likely the majority or not like the entirety or like the majority of it like I'm going like the entirety of his like the money to like this account, which would be an account of info. And in exchange, like Sanjion will be getting that full custody of Shopline. At that point, that for like Sanjion as well as to be able to like survive, like Sanjion will be having to like work as like the as like a studio backup for like the remaining of like Sanjion's life. And this will be that ultimate revenge of revenge that is being left by Ilnam before the death to uh, info to basically that ultimate revenge of like a suffering to the for like Sanjon for like for info to like execute might have been what might have happened in like the past tense might be what would be like info right now would be trying to like achieve through his like fake acting and everything right now definitely my brain so like but you know it's very different right now with that Sanjon right now telling like the person on like a person on like the call that basically he will find him and basically go like the person on like call us very much the mission that would be like the front man. But like Sanjo saying that like, he will find him and then Sanjo straight away is having to like head over to like see what but remember transition that like at Sion like basically Sanjo right now would be where like Jun-ho would be right now. It's definitely remember the like Sanjo Jun-ho definitely would have survived back then, especially when the trend so like Jun-ho would still be like maybe like Jun-ho we are right now like the main might have got a promotion after his like whole infiltration into like the Squid game and everything like after that like extremely risky like job like I'm looking for like Jun-ho might have totally gotten a promotion like Jun-ho might have been congratulated and Jun-ho might have totally got a promotion to anything even though I'm also like by the time like the Squid game 2020 game was over and basically by the time like Sanjeev had basically even returned back to like city like I'm looking for like the like the reward money like basically like it might have been even after all that like basically finally like Junho might have been able to like get like all the it might have been after that like basically like Junho might have been able to like get with like all of his like remaining police force might have been able to like make it there and so like with like Junho and like the remaining police force like when making it to like Squid Game Island, like all that might have happened after like the Squid Game was over and everyone, all the VIPs and everyone might have left. Definitely, when the Squid Game was over and if everyone might have left, might have been like with the family. Definitely, like I'm thinking like the Junho and like the entire police might have raided through like the entire field of like the Squid Game building. So like major reimbursements were like by the time like Junho and like the police just like entire police team might have been able to like make it to like Squid Game Island like and the one like not only like everyone once we must also like strongman and like all the creators like as well as like Sanjon like all of not all of them might have left like and made it back to like city but also like all the events in like the Squid Game building like as for like Bloodstain as well as like all the that was in like the communication plays and everything like that. All that evidence might have probably like the strongman might have got actually yeah, water rate of all that evidence might have been what might have happened, especially when the training. Like I'm looking like at that point, like I was like even though like Janko and like the gender police team might have been not being able to like find any evidence from the thing that has been the thing still like I'm looking like that they might have straight away found like that still like that Squid game building was definitely since it's definitely there like I might have definitely that like I'm looking like definitely that Jun-ho might have like things like also Jun-ho have had shown the photos and everything through his like phone. Like I think that basically Jun-ho had sent like dangerous like photos and etc. That photos and I think that is being to his like from like the police department. So because of all and because of the police department even finding like Jun-ho in like a badly injured state, by the time they might have thought up to like Jun-ho reached back and forward. Like I'm looking for like that the police department might have like even though they might have not been able to like get find any evidence from like this game building in like this game might have, that might have been what might have happened. Still, I'm looking that the entire police department might have been convinced that basically definitely like Jung-ho had basically lived his life and done so much and like the thing Jung-ho is saying like might have been like the entire police department might have been convinced to continue on so like for like Jung-ho's like bravery and such like extreme hard work and effort to bring down such dangerous villains all by himself. Like I'm looking like Jun-ho might have probably gotten promoted by and might be right now Jun-ho would be like in that position of like the main police chief and like the police department in Seoul, especially in other things. So like right now Jun-ho will be heading over to like especially like Jun-ho have right now told like the person on like phone that like he will find him like with this Jun-ho right now is heading to like the police station in like Seoul where like Jun-ho push like the police chief right now. So, you know, so like I'm looking like Sanjay right now going over to like meet with like Jun-ho to basically like to basically seek Jun-ho's help to like bring down like the 2024 Squid Game and put an end to like Squid Game as a whole. To bring an end to like all this villanism and basically to bring an end to like the Squid Game like I'm looking like Sanjay right now will be heading over to like the station at Seoul like the Jun-ho's help with like the scenario and the world of the so like definitely ultimate impression that like after like Jun-ho had survived like Jun-ho might have been like once again but friendly might have crossed all over the like entire police department. They were not only like even though like in the school game and then once they made it like might have been empty that if they might have come back to the city and like Jun-ho and his like entire police department might have friendly and the friendly so all throughout like the city at that point to like find info. But like they might have not all been able to like find it like might have been what might have happened especially because like info might have only for paint the scenario so like info might have only left temporarily left like the country like for a while might have been what might have happened. The leak might have been so like the minimum with the reimbursements right now, especially for like Sanjeev to like basically right now that go at CEO like meet with like Jun-ho and they really show Sanjeev probably show Jun-ho like that to the entire of like the scenario that I was doing in the public. And at that point, just like Jun-ho was obviously seeing this that to the entire and to like then take it opportunity to like for like the past entire year like Jun-ho might have frantically first all over to like try to info that might have failed because like Jung-ho would still like no matter how much of like a villain in North like even though in Philander like Jung-ho not live would still want to like save Jung-ho, especially my good friend Jung-ho is such a good brother like he would still want to like save info still especially my good friend so like even though like Jung-ho might be planning on capturing info still I'm with Jung-ho because like hoping that basically like that for like info still be able to like not get any sort of like threats and then would be along the lines that Jun-ho without the is definitely not a so like Jun-ho still just want to like desperately want to like fight and save him like, from like the trap of like speaking it's definitely my good brain so like Jun-ho while Sanjay will be like right now whispering like Sanjay to like meet Jun-ho and show this to Jin card and straight away like Jun-ho seeing this as his like ultimate opportunity to like finally find in ho and so like my good preparation for like scenarios are like Sanjon and like Jun-ho deciding to like team up to like bring down and put an end to like this situation. But like I was different like Sanjon was coming straight away telling Jun-ho to like straight away follow like Sanjon to like the game island and basically like to straight away bring like the entire police team and basically bring down like the civilians straight away. Like if they along the example, Sanjon is wanting that Jun-ho to be and most like Sanjon telling Jun-ho, but like I was going Jun-ho most likely at that point telling Sanjon that basically like if not select for completely put and then select students like but like Jun-ho maybe telling Sanjon that we have to also capture like the VIPs as well red handed with evidence definitely should be along the lines of maybe like Jun-ho telling Sangyeon that was like scenario that I'm able to, so like I was like Jun-ho telling Sangyeon that basically once again that Akko alone like they'll be like infiltrating into like the Squid Game building and uh basically like that way like I'm looking like that being like the plan and so like I'm looking like definitely like Jungho would be like probably by now would be like maybe aware that basically it would be only they will be able to bring easier it will be like same situation so like I was with that remember that like the VIPs would be only showing up to watch like the fifth as well as fifth game alone because like the fifth as well as the fifth game alone would be like the more challenging and extremely dangerous like stadium when compared to like the first four stadiums that make on the trend. So like the VIPs might be only interested in like watching like the as well as like the sixth stadium and all. So like the VIPs might only be even showing up to like stadium that they and like the fifth as well as for just like the fifth as well as the game. I don't each year certainly also made on the radar. Maybe Jung by now would be aware of that as well. So it's like in preparation and they would be like Jung right now would be like even aware of that. It's also like about maybe to that and so like I'm doing Jung maybe telling Sangyeon to like with Sangyeon's experience for Sangyeon to like survive like the until like the until reaching like the game so that like Jungho and so that like once like the VIPs will be showing up like Jungho will be able to like bring down and capture like the VIPs and that way it's a permanent end to like the entirety of the game. So we along the lines and like Jungho telling Sangyeon, but like I'm assuming like Sangyeon at that point telling Jungho, Sangyeon will only not probably agreeing to that basically because like so from Sangyeon's point of view, Sangyeon will only bring for like the in like the first four skin games like all of those innocent people that will be like ending up dying like Sangyeon will only bringing in Jungho such an extremely empathetic manner. But like I'm like Jungho actually convincing Sangyeon along the lines of like you know so it's like they attack even make them move even, on like the Squid people who handle Squid even before that, like the VIPs will still be escaping and as long as like the VIPs are now got handled, like Squid still will be like yeah, continuing on to be along the lines of Jumbo telling Sanjon and eventually that way like Jumbo convincing Sanjon to like play Squid and reach until like the Squid like the scenario that I'm doing. And I was bringing that or like this year's like 2021 Squid Game, like I was even like an ultimate twist to happen where like with like the frontman where like I was looking it would be like not info that would be like the frontman like I'm like info after like the 2020 Squid Game like info might have only expected the unfortunate like the possibility of like info they ending up in a situation where like info won't be able to like stay in her info country at all because of like Jun-ho would be like the crazy Jun-ho would be like only surviving and Jun-ho would be like only consistently like pumping through outlet in that respect that searching for like or like necessity searching for info would be along the lines like real for info would be along the lines like info made of that. So like I'm looking like especially because of this reason like info right now would be in like a totally different country itself in the like this area. So definitely so like for info to like still like ensure like the time of like till now ends up happening like about like the info might not only aside that the first person with whom like Sangyeon had basically played that throwing the card onto like the floor game with like basically in like the very beginning and that the same person that like Sangyeon had just now seen in like the subway like basically that when it could be that person that would be like ending up eventually ending up being like the replacement of like info for like the return of like the frontman in like the 2021st billion so like I'm looking like during the whole infiltration of like Sangyeon as well as like Jungho that basically both of them would be like totally like straight away assuming that basically the frontman will definitely be info but like I'm looking like eventually through their infiltration and everything usually towards like the usually towards like the later portion of like the towards the end of like the 20 Squid Game like towards like the maybe like around like the time when like it will be like the Squid Game will be happening or like it will be around that time like really by the time finally like Sangyeon and Jumbo or like one of them will be finally capturing like the front man and basically once like they will be hitting that finally they have captured like info like at that point, once they will be unmasking like the front man, like I was in terms of like getting like the bigger shots of like the front man not being info, but like seeing that person that Sangyeon had played like the card game, throwing the card into like the top game, but like the individual stuff like a scenario that and the thing and better thing. So like the name of dream restaurant right now is for like Jun-ho basically deciding to like get transferred to that police work as well as like basically Jun-ho basically right now would be totally and absolutely cross with like the police chief, the name of the anything like the thing like Jun-ho might have had like a great bond of friendship with and him Jun-ho might have only trusted like the police chief and was even like so like back in 2020 when like after like Jun-ho like infiltrated into that the studio building that basically on that area night itself that like Jun-ho had basically that this guy up like a studio worker like when Jun-ho had left uh like turned off like the lights and basically had message from like the rooms of like one of like the studio workers where like Jun-ho had discovered one of like the studio worker. Then Jun-ho had sent that message to his phone back then itself like Jun-ho might have messaged with like a police chief to basically gather up all of this all of like the entire police department that basically show up to that this like game item like that like this like the game thing is like actually a real so up like game item like I'm like Jun-ho might have been messaging since then stuff never or remember the question is like even before like Jun-ho had basically had basically followed like Sang-yeon's like ban but like basically even before that, like I think that Jumbo had basically recently followed like the van which like Sanyon had entered to like enter into the security experience of new English. So like I was like even by following that van then like since then itself like Jumbo might have started to like between message like the sense of started sending the message to like the police chief that actually it's real, it's not something fake, that it's real, something is like totally going on and basically also like Jumbo might have so like for like police chief to like bring a bunch of us like forces to like that basically Jungle by now chasing this like extreme suspicious man and basically for like Jungle made a straight away by trying the man to make a message like that that police chief he like basically show up with his like a bunch of his team to like after like jumping and all that like and even after like uh like and like Jumbo might have repeatedly like enough infiltrating into the studio building like while the playing as like the studio worker after seeing like the very first game like after Jumbo had seen like the very how like studio work for like the first time itself like and like Jumbo might have even then like Jumbo might have message with like police chief like basically this is like real and basically that basically but like back then like Jumbo might have not been able to like take pictures might have been like even in the case like John Ho might have been in such a situation, but like he wasn't able to like to take picture of like the whole game or like the records or anything like that. Yeah, like John Ho might have totally kept messaging like the police chief that he have seen like all this like danger things that happening in like the game and everything. Like Jun Ho might not only message, like even that like whole message with like Jun Ho at one point, but then like the game building where like Jun Ho had basically like sent like the message with like short single words like referring to like the things that were happening on the game. Even that message as well might have been towards like sent to like the police chief, and then like the police chief might have only ignored all that like so like my good friend was like at that point like the police might have straight away maybe like assume that might have been like going paranoid or something that basically like because like I'm going to bring example in like the past while working in that post in police post like might have had like episodes where like example might have like gone paranoid or like had like hallucination of things that you remember like example might have maybe had such such a threat like in his like at one point in his life was like never and like the chief police would be aware of the first one that never was so like the police might have not believe like all these repeated messages from Janko. So like the police to like bring like absolutely will bring like the entire police team to like to game island and like so usually like the police might have straight away uh not believed all that and he might have only believed it once like Janko might have finally sent actual pictures of like I think like the dead body like and they would like just so like they really sent to like so like so that sent to like the police. It might be only at that point that the police might have actually believed like Janko that like it's actually that the whole wasn't lying or like being delusional like or hallucinating that just Janko like solutions and that and so like it might be only at that point that I'm looking like I'm looking the police chief might have decided to like form a plan, like a strategical plan, and they need to gather up like the entire team, like the police chief deciding to gather up the entire team, and then like they might have brainstorm that what might have been like planning, creating this like ultimate plan to like basically bring down these people who are like committing this like villain acts and everything. So like, and so still by the time that they eventually like the police chief decided to like gather up all the police force team and with all the team and basically by the time like they might have decided to like make a move like and like Jun-ho might have been like it might have been too late by that. It might have been what might have happened. Like by then like what might have happened would be like Jun-ho think like Jun-ho waking up right now that basically that might have only have to be something that might have happened a whole year later. So like I'm just maybe like the situation with like Jun-ho might have been like for like an entire day of like a whole year after like the fall uh from like due to like info using that weapon like basically after that like I'm what might have happened really that Jun-ho might have after his fall might have somehow barely managed to like to making it that show. It's definitely a very so bundle of ways that making it a show. And they really at that point itself like info might have totally assumed like Jump would be able to like save himself even though injured. And info might have straight away left with that CDM or from that island and like I'm just like Jun-ho might have watched the show and I'm looking Jun-ho might have been so extremely might have been losing a lot and Jun-ho might have been so extremely close. So like I'm looking by the time like the police chief and his like and that team might have showed up there like I'm looking like they might have found like Jun-ho like almost about years conscious. Definitely might what might have been like the scenario as well. So like my the memories that like the entire police team might have showed up in just a single boat might have been that the scenario the fact that situation what might have happened back then is definitely one of the like the chief on thing like Jun-ho wanted to shore in that island like but like almost like going into like a state of like losing consciousness at that point like I was uh like the police might have like straight away taken up with that Jun-ho and they might have straight away took Jun-ho from the port and they really might have left all the way back to like the city to get Jun-ho as soon as possible to like the hospital might have been what might have happened. So like I was expecting even in like Jun-ho message from like the point where like Jun-ho had entered infiltrated into the building itself, like Jun-ho might have been consistently messaging and repeatedly multiple times might have messaged like the police team to like basically bring the entire team and basically to show up in like two boats to like the stadium and that will be along the lines like multiple times like Jun-ho might have messaged like the police chief, but like still like the police chief might have eventually when like the police chief might have brought like the entire team like the police chief might have only showed up in like a single boat might have been what might have happened. So like I'm looking like on seeing like Jun-ho being like almost like losing consciousness like I'm thinking they might have decided to like go back to like the city just like Jun-ho and basically to as soon as possible save Jun-ho's life and get Jun-ho created and then from like the city like once again travel back into like the entire thing to towards like the Fijian islands to like catch up all these villains like might have been what might have happened if the villain was right. So like they might have lost a lot of time doing this process and like getting Jun-ho back to like the city to like get to the hospital and then like once again come at the by the time like they traveled the third boat to and made finally had made it to like the Fijian island like basically by then like the entirety of like the even the 60 game might have been over by then and really like not only the 60 game was over like by then I was the scenario might have been like the 60 game might have been over for the Epic might have left Ilna might have left frontman as well as the two game but all of them might have left by then. So like by then like by the time they had brought back to like the made it finally made it the police force had made finally made it to like the Studian island like Amazon it might have been too late might have been like the scenario that might have happened at the funeral of Amazon like Amazon like for like one whole year like Jun-ho might have been in that coma and basically that one that Jun-ho finally woke up like Amazon like straight away right now that Jun-ho that basically the moment Jun-ho even woke up like Jun-ho even saying his name like I was like Jun-ho after like waking up might be only at that point that Jun-ho might have realized that everything that had happened that like the event which like ended up being like were like too late and they had like only sort of like a single boat even back then that sort of thing like then being too late and like even like the chief like just leaving like Jun-ho like messages like also like being like for so long, all this collectively being the reason that like all those villains are escaping as well as like Jun-ho as well still not being found, and basically all this came due to like the police chief uh, police chief like lack of taking Jun-ho seriously along the line, like mainly like Jun-ho might have realized at that point like the scenario that once he woke up he might have realized especially when I was like, so like Jun-ho might have been at that point extremely disappointed with like the seat and basically Jun-ho might have been so extremely frustrated, angry, and like disappointed in like sad and angry and disappointed in like the seat that basically Jun-ho like might have totally taken out that anger by straight away and totally thoroughly ignoring like the chief and straight away deciding to like get a transfer to from like the station to like to work in like the traffic department area. That might be how in like the present opportunity is like is really just right now with like working in like the traffic area, and right now with like the chief right now even finding Jun-ho and trying to like make a conversation with like Jun-ho that Jun-ho totally like responding back to like the chief in like such an extremely ignorant manner without not even as if like it's not in like such a kind of like an insulting and ignorance manner. Like Jun-ho right now responding back to the police chief, precisely because of like Jun-ho even to the present day probably they having that extreme anger within him towards like the very scheme of his lack of taking Jun-ho seriously back then. And solely due to that, like Jun-ho no, still not being able to like find involved in the along the lines of like the current situation, and like the reason for like Jun-ho right now acting towards like the police chief in such a manner certainly necessary and of so like later the current versions are like with like the veteran jump who like waking up like waking that might have been consulted by the random that like that might have been something that might have happened like a whole year after like the 2020 game is the film of the rain. So like after that like I'm looking like Jun-ho might have like first met search for like Sang-yeon might exactly where the brain version right now is that we say after like Jun-ho might have found out about like the in the aspect of like the seed like and like the just like force like basically not being able to like have the any of like neither any of like the villains in like the script or like this medium or the like or even find like info like basically at that point like I'm looking like Jun-ho might have like sort of like Sang-yeon and basically might have straight away showed up to like the home of Sang-yeon, and I'm looking like even right now in like the person as well with like Sang-yeon even quite he has all this like uh huge money huge sum of money in his like account like still Sang-yeon is still living in that very same uh old home like Sang-yeon is definitely one of my favorite. So like I'm looking like Jun-ho might have already found and met with like Sang-yeon and might have talked to like Sang-yeon and usually Sang-yeon might have revealed to like Jun-ho about like everything because like at that point like Sang-yeon might have been in that like numb like kind of like a state where like Sang-yeon might have not cared about anything at all. So like Sang-yeon might have revealed everything about everything that happens to like Jun-ho, and was like Jun-ho might have decided to like not to like to basically not confiscate like the money that the huge sum of money like Sang-yeon's account and all that. Exactly what might have happened. Because never might understand. It might be during that interaction that where like I'm listening both like Jun-ho as well as like Sang-yeon might have exchanged like all the information about like the Squid Game building and everything in their experience of into the Squid Games to each other. Like they might have exchanged all that information. And like Jun-ho might have revealed back then might have been when like Jun-ho might have revealed to like Sang-yeon how that basically these about this like passport like kind of like a thing like a code or something that basically Jun-ho had basically seen behind like the years of like the people who were like entering into like this game like basically uh for like this game candidates and all that like basically Jun-ho might have revealed about that to like Sang-yeon back then. It's definitely not the so like at that point, when the references are like both Jang-ho might have straight away checked with like Sang-yeon in the back of Sang-yeon's ear, still that barcode like saying work like second or but like and I'm also like Sang-yeon still might have checked like and like they might have not seen they might have seen that barcode like thing like or anything at that point. So like I'm also like Sang-yeon like and knowing of the whole barcode like thing like or like code that like stamped onto like the back of the ear like visually by dream of the like visually the information Sangyon might have came through like that interrogation through that interaction between like Jumbo and Sangyon that might have taken place after like a year after like the Squid Game 2020 should be, might have been like this and it's definitely one of the things. So like right now, but like basically through the phone call, like Sanjon, like basically, what's basically like finding out as for like the person in that phone call, which like Sanjon might not only straight away assume that it might be like the phone, like basically knowing that like about like the things Sanjon's doing, like more precisely is they being able to track Sanjon's location, knowing what time exactly what Sanjon is about to do. Like basically even after like a whole year of like after like decision like basically the fact that like the person on the phone connected to like experience to be like the front line, like knowing that like Sanjon like was like about to board the plane, and that even after like Sanjon taking the decision to like not board the plane, like basically like just through the next phone call or like phone call that basically person knowing that like Sanjon didn't board the plane, like basically all that like Sanjon looking around and all that, like Sanjon might have decided that basically like it would be like something like connected to that passport behind like the ear, that would be the reason for like these people connected to games even after like a whole year, like maybe precisely being it like tracked down Sanjon. Might have been along the line, like maybe Sanjon might have felt the name of the framework. So like I'm like this would be the best reason for like Sanjon right now that is something behind his ear, and that way like Sanjon might have that totally that way accidentally found out that basically that about this like might have been able to like feel this like metal piece behind his ear, and it might be only something that Sanjon might have only found out right now about like the not about it not just being like a code like behind the ear, but there also being like a tracking device kind of like a metal piece behind starting to like the access with access here and all that. It's definitely what might have happened is definitely my brain. So like so like definitely my brain system right now as well like the police is right now telling Jun-ho to that you join like the major crimes department. Like but definitely right now it's like Jun-ho on this and would be like totally bending out and taking out all this anger and frustration towards like the police right now and blaming him for like for him being so reason like Jun-ho still doesn't know where like info is and all that is like the scenario that I'm looking at Jun-ho right now. About the friend like taking out all his anger on like the jeep and refusing straight away, refusing to join like the major friends department, like the scenario that I'm looking. But like I'm looking at and Jun-ho after like taking out all his anger on the police, Jun-ho straight away leaving. Like the scenario that came from that restaurant is like scenario that I'm looking. But like I'm looking like after Jun-ho would be leaving. Ambassador like almost rated Ambassador and Sangyeon would be like finding going up to like Jungho, and like Sangyeon would be like showing Jungho that Studian card that Sangyeon got right now, especially now the Ambassador. So at that point Ambassador bring that to Jungho, deciding that basically okay, so like Ambassador at that point would be when like that beacon of hope would be that that finally that Jungho will be getting that once again getting that beacon of hope of like once again being able like him possibly having a chance to like once again find info. That basically that would be around the situations and the eventual scenario that I'm looking. So like I'm looking it will be at that point that after like seeing like that card that like Sanjom brought that this like Sanjom was showing Jungho. Like it will be at that point I'm looking like Jungho like straight away which like, he's telling Sanjom that like about like basically like cleaning up. It was like I'm looking for like it will be only at that point that I'm looking for like Jungho will be like straight away returning back to like the station and talking to like the police chief, and basically I'm looking at that point still like I'm looking like Jungho not asking like the police chief if he could join like the major crimes department, but like I'm looking like Jungho straight away with better feet with telling like the police chief that he's joining like the major crimes department, which is like the scenario that I'm looking for like another time. Okay, so like the cleaner reimbursement right now as for like the policy right now revealing that they should be even after all this time that they should be even in like the present the fact that like Johnson still can't find like the still game island because of like I'm looking for like the best reason would be my other impression is that like the school game island since like in now would definitely be like a VIP trillionaire like I'm looking like he will have so much money that like I'm looking for like using that a lot of that money like he might have created like the Squid Game building in such a way that basically the Squid Game building will be like a custom made like mechanical kind of like a building. It's definitely my preference. It, like my preference is that the walls of like the Squid Game building would be like only foldable. It's definitely my preference. Each of like the walls of like the Squid Game building would be like foldable, and I was like the Squid Game island would be like a mechanical. I mean like the game building would be like a mechanical building that would be able to like mechanically be able to like raise to like the surface and basically be able to like lower to like the underground. It's definitely my would remember. Like I was making the Squid Game had been to when like the Squid Game building might have been created like I was like a huge underground basement like area might have been dug out and basically like the Squid Game building might have been initially built there, and this mechanical like functioning like it's having this mechanical functioning where like it should be like Squid Game building from like the underground will be like raised upwards to like basically making it appear as if like the building is like actually on the surface where like in actuality like the building would be the entire Squid building will be able to like be raised to the surface as well as like would be able to like sit in like the underground in that area exact Korean island. So like I was like once like the Korean was like oh and so like I'm looking at what the front man might have done might have been that he might have back then like when like the front Inho had basically used his weapon on like Inho. At that point I was thinking the front man might have taken like such a huge and extreme because like I was like the situation was like Inho getting like the situation looks like Jun-ho getting like Inho was extremely emotional and was like maybe like info might have been in like an extremely emotional and confused, like kind of like a state where like he might have not cared at all at that point if like he events got captured by that look like info brought like center uh, uh, in the police department and usually them it like them even showed up to like the Squid Island before like this is Squid was over like and basically that way like info as well as all the VIPs and everyone gets like captured and after by like the police. Like even then like it wouldn't match up would be along the line for like a brief moment that like a mindset that in which like info might have been in during that time due to his like due to him being in like a probably confused and emotional state after like having used this weapon on the evil. Definitely remember the Rainbow and this will be the precise reason for like info Janho not ensuring to like take info life. Like basically Janho would have purposefully that used this weapon in such an exact manner so that like info would be even after getting like attacked by that weapon, like info would still be able to like survive. And certainly remember the reason. While at the same time like tricking like the remaining studio members into thinking that they really Janho had basically taken info life exactly what might have happened back then. It's definitely remember the reinvention. So like I'm for like after like the Squid Game was over, like after like the Squid Game like the 2020 Squid Game was like over, like I'm like Info might have straight away before leaving with like Sanjo like another like Info might have straight away order to like the remaining studio was up to like basically what they might have done might have been they might have like got the switch to like lower like the game building to like the underground from like the surface and basically then they might have totally like that will be what like they might have been doing since like 1999 where like after like each year like the Squid Games will be over like and like the Squid Game building which will be on like surface level at that point would be like using it like mechanical power like it would be like lowered to like the underground and like sand would be like the front man will each year like will be ordering like the stream workers to like cover like that area of like the game building which at that point which will be in like the underground with like sand. That way the top of like the game building would be like fully and thoroughly would be covered with sand to like make it seem as if it's like sand and like maybe even rocks would be like placed around. So like to like make the studio island like look like just another natural island and as if like basically to hide the back around like the Squid Game to hide like the fact that like hide the Squid Game building like that's like beneath it like basically that Squid Game Island might have been that might have been what might have happened back then even after the 2020 Squid Game it's a remember so like I'm looking at expectations that what remember the time of the like for like a whole year I think like basically like info might have been I mean like Junko like might have been like a common like situation like and then but like definitely I'm looking for like by the time info might have made it to like the game and like info might have been Janko might have made it to like the game and Janko might have suddenly confused because like even like the game island at that point might have just thought because of like him Jun-ho not seeing like this game building and like usually that Jun-ho might have just through the entire pavement island and then Jun-ho might have totally got confused if that island is in fact like the game island, especially because like Jun-ho not being able to like find like the studio building there. So like I'm when like Jun-ho might have already gotten confused and like Jun-ho even Jun-ho fallen as well after like falling into like sea might have already gotten destroyed. So like I'm Jun-ho might have not been able to like retrieve any data either from like the phone either definitely what might have happened. It's definitely my question that I'm looking for. Jun-ho might have gotten at that point might have already gotten confused as to like if that island is in fact like was in fact like back to game island or it was like some other island like where like Syrian building was like the way along the line like I'm putting that concept might have happened to like Jun-ho and basically the professor reason for like the policy Jun-ho not being able to like find like the Syrian island even to the also definitely my question to answer. Okay, like the next specific amount of versions that like basically eventually once like I'm definitely putting for Sanjion to like bring like the Syrian to like Jun-ho and at that point I was like Jun-ho straight away like bringing like Squid Game card to like to show like the police chief at that point is definitely one different and like him showing that card to like the police chief and then like straight away like the police chief could still not be that considering even the Squid Game card like has like evidence at all it's like the scenario that I'm going to bring and I'm also bring like the like that only recording that number in front of like the police chief yet like absolutely no one picking up this like the scenario that it was so like I'm just saying that then like I'm just saying like Jun-ho telling like the police that like Jun-ho wants to join like the major French department. Right? So like at that point I was super like the police telling that Jun-ho that basically like that Jun-ho can't do like the very same thing she did like during like 2020 like the like Jun-ho like basically stolen like the weapons from like the police department like, and went off like basically so like I was super like Jun-ho at that point telling like the police that like he wants evidence then like he would like come with him like Jun-ho would be along the lines like Jun-ho would be telling like that police chief at that point is like the scenario that I'm remembering. So like I'm remembering like that way like I'm remembering like the police chief to like find out the truth like basically like I'm remembering like the police chief definitely this time like I'm remembering the 2021st game like the police chief will be like probably going along with like along with like Jun-ho to like President like Sanjeon will be like eventually taken in through like a van by the Squid Game man and be brought to like the continuous Squid Game. Like I'm delivering this time like the infiltration of like this time like I'm also under the definitely for like the infiltration to happen between like with like Jun-ho infiltrating into like Squid Game. But this time like I'm delivering along like Jun-ho the also like the police chief as well like the scenario that I'm delivering. And that was like eventually like as like the infiltration of like Jun-ho and like the police chief will be like continuing and like the police chief getting that as well show. Basically the police chief eventually seeing like one of like the Squid Games in like the scenario that I was delivering. So like either that happening while they will be in their whole disguise as like Game or like I'm even more than that I'm delivering maybe like it would be through the air ventilation pub on the ceiling that I was doing where like I'm doing like that Jun-ho would be like deciding to like hiding to basically show like the police chief that was evidence and basically that him totally seeing like one of like the police chief totally seeing one of like the civilians the very first civilian is also like an interesting scenario that I'm also but like I'm definitely like eventually through this like whole information from of like Jun-ho and like the police chief definitely I'm also thing eventually or like the police chief to like only get captured it's like the scenario that I'm looking at. The police chief definitely I think will be like dying during that infiltration eventually during like in like the 2021st to the end. But like I'm talking example still would be like surviving towards like the very end of like the 2021st game as well. Because like in the scenario that I'm looking and I'm still thinking about the eventually even though Jun-ho did only thing that like in like the 2021st game it will be info that will be like the front man. It's like I'm thinking like definitely in like the 2021st game it will be that other person and not like info that would be like the front man in like the 2020 first should get like present scenario that I was looking at another reimbursement. So it's a definitely not a reimbursement right now as for like the person bringing like the calling bell in like John Jones like mortal ambassador that person would definitely be John Ho. It's definitely not a reimbursement. So like I'm definitely like with like the recent like interaction with like the police chief like making John Ho remember of that his memories of like trying to find the like info and everything like about like Jun-ho might have already decided to like basically that like instead of wasting time like he is still consistently keep trying to like figure out like the info. So like I'm looking like Jun-ho right now it will be potentially Jun-ho that might have sort of to like Sun Gyeon's like model right now and would be like a ring with the volume. That is definitely my secondary impression. Right now itself I'm looking for like Sangyeon and I'm looking like even though Sangyeon had basically said that like he will find like the frontman after like call phone call by like the frontman a year back at the airport and everything. Like still even after that, like about like as like time passed, like about like Sangyeon might have like that whole courage that Sangyeon might have had back then might have faded away and that was like Sangyeon might have totally given up on his like desire to like find like the front man and basically back then like that when like Sangyeon back then a year back had told the front that he will find him like at that point maybe like in Sangyeon's mind at that point Sangyeon might have had this like a desire might have happened within like Sangyeon to like basically put an end to like this game to destroy it and put an end to like this game. But like I'm looking as time passed like and a whole year passed like I'm looking more time like that whole courage might have faded away and like Sangyeon through that phone call in that airport like realizing that the people behind like Experience still tracking like even after like announced stuff like basically the people behind like Experience still tracking Sangyeon and all that like basically that might have over time like at like a 1 year past like might have created that extreme fear within like Sangyeon and this is the best reason for like Sangyeon is right now living absolutely scared certainly my friend. So these are the reason for like Sangyeon locking himself into this like mortal and basically like like that entire fear of like that mortal and like fully with like CCTV and everything and yet for like the intruder to like basically to still with all that CCTV for like the intruder to like still to for that Sangyeon to like still miss that one intruder introduced only because of like that intruder being like so being skillful. And that is hence like another revolution definitely that like that intruder would definitely be like Jun-ho. It's definitely my favorite energy. But like I'm looking right now with like Jun-ho showing up, it's like the scenario that I'm looking and Jun-ho will be like interacting with like Sangyeon and talking to like Sangyeon. And Jun-ho will be trying to like Jun-ho will be like right now I'm with Jun-ho to like try to like extract any sort of like an information that Sangyeon might have missed using this like maybe like a door would be like opening for like Jun-ho. It is like just to like find to be along the lines like Jun-ho might have thought and will be the reason for like popular right now to being like Jun-ho that would have sort of to like talk to like Sangyeon. Is definitely one of the terms of the team. And I was remember that in whole interaction like I'm like Jun-ho would be like shockingly finding out that like Sangyeon would be like revealing to Jun-ho about like the Squid Game card that he had received a whole year back. It's definitely my birthday memory. So like at that point, like Jun-ho being like extremely not only being shocked, but would be Jun-ho would be getting also extremely angry with like Sangyeon that was used. And that time, like Sangyeon had kept that the secretarial information about like Sangyeon having gotten like another Squid Game card like a whole year back and to send that and like for Sangyeon like withholding that information from like Jun-ho but were getting fiercely angry with like Sangyeon or like the possibility that I'm leaning more towards the possibility of basically for like Jun-ho probably most likely Sangyeon showing that Jun-ho that to get that sort of a year back and basically Jun-ho maybe most likely setting a strategy and Jun-ho telling Sangyeon to like basically to re-end maybe like Jun-ho will be so desperate to like find info that basically Jun-ho maybe going through the extreme to like basically even telling Sangyeon to like basically return back into like the Squid Game and like Jun-ho but like convincing Sangyeon that basically that like they have to put an end to this like basically that like Jun-ho like the police department doesn't believe Jun-ho that basically it's only like Sangyeon that can make it possible for Jun-ho to like not only put an end to like this game but also for Jun-ho to like give like find and save him as well. When along the lines unfortunately Jun-ho eventually convincing Sangyeon to like the more likely possible that and that way like I'm looking uh according to like Jun-ho tries to Sangyeon like once again calling that number uh, on the Squid card from a year back, and still the connection is like the scenario that I'm doing. And at that point, I'm looking at Sanjong or like uh, that telling like to like that person on the other end, which would be like the front man, which would be one of the disputing master. And I was like Sang-yeon telling that person that like Sang-yeon wants that Sang-yeon would straight away telling his cases and Sang-yeon is saying that he wants to end up in like the 2022 Squid Game. Okay, along the line, Sang-yeon will be telling, and then the person like at that point, maybe once again, like the call connecting to the front man, but it just might, this time it won't be like in whole, like the scenario that I'm sorry, but it will be like, uh, it will be like that person that Sandron has played that card game with like throwing the card on the floor, like it will be that person that would be like have replaced him and user right now would be like the front man right now. Definitely my opinion of question. So, uh, whereas in the case of info would be like info would have only like country, definitely a very much involved. Definitely, the person like as Sangyeon would be like interacting with like the frontman like at that point, and the person like Jin-ho would be like shockingly listening to it to Sangyeon and basically yeah, like info would be like totally feeling absolutely sure that basically info tries to like talk through that phone to that it's like Jumbo tries to talk through that phone like basically like their plan would be like not ending up being a success. So like I'm looking to Jumbo like basically listening to like Sanjon talking to the frontman like person out of that and person. So like during that interaction I'm looking like as part of that Jumbo's plan like Sanjon telling the frontman that he wants to re-enter back into like this again in like the 2020 second season will be along the lines of Sanjon telling and then so they remind us of impression that using that song beyond like and from that Jun-ho and again in like the 2020 seconds would be like infiltrating into it, like the studio every day. But like campus were like this time it won't be like Jun-ho by himself, but like the police chief as well will be along with like Jun-ho and they would be like together making the present into like the studio 2020 seconds studio building. This time it's like doing the scenario that I'm looking for the program of the game. Okay, so like looking at the grand recent right now, which like we have like for like the past 2 years, like having that spent a whole lot of like money just to like stuff and find like the people behind like this game. And we have like absolutely no resource. Like Amazon to be especially because of like the people that like the great number of people which this like Kanjon might have assigned. There will be a great number of whole a huge team that Kanjon because it's like Kanjon was extremely wealthy, like Kanjon might have assigned like a huge team to like basically for this like first like that's going on for 2 years without any results and like that's the whole reason for like the first yielding any results for like even after 2 years only especially because of like these people that can't don't have to sign like I'm event totally having been bribed by like the people behind the experience for they definitely have that definitely that people might have only remotely only might have that advertisement will like only thrive like all these people that don't have assigned for it's like a way higher price and money that usually info might have remotely like thrive all of them to like only work for like info and basically to sell signs on that absolutely like that basically they weren't able to like find anyone and that connected to that experience you might be the impression of what might have been totally going on for like the past whole 2 years because you know the premise so like Sanjon with only thoroughly getting might have been gotten tricked might have been especially getting tricked for like the entirety of like the past 2 years by info and his like entire team definitely my personal and person right now. Okay, so like the film I'm looking at section right now as for like the person who also whom like Sanjon has told like the huge step to like with like thing so Sanjon has right now having him and basically right now basically like telling a thing and was to find like the person who plays that again like them getting like a billion won in like as like a reward from Sanjon like I was that would be like such an aspect like it's definitely my preference. So like that person to whom like Sanjon in like the beginning had that towards like emphasizing that person would be like absolutely lying. It won't be like the offer from Sanjon won't be 1 billion one, but like emphasizing like it will be like at least five or like even 10 billion one. That emphasizing same process about would have like maybe 5 billion one to be what like emphasizing like Sanjon might have 5 or 10 billion one is what emphasizing like Sanjon might have totally offered that that to that person and I was like that will be the precise reason for like him like only making himself like will be tricking like his like team members make him look like such a general like boss by like basically offering just like team members like basically so the exact half of that 1 billion 1 5 million one for them it's definitely members reimbursement when in actuality like Sanjo might have opened in at least 5 or like 10 billion one it's definitely members reimbursement right now. Okay, so like the name of reimbursement right now is for like right now it's being like the year 2024 for like Jun-ho as well as Sanjo and with like Jun-ho as well as Sanjo like in the case of Sanjo having began his jobs to like find like the people behind him to the man and also like for like Sanjo doing his jobs on land for like the and that was one definitely in the case of Sanjo like he would have done like the such his first with like all those people like solely focused on land. It's definitely one of the for like the past since it's revealed that like Sanjo has been carrying out this stuff for like the past 3 years and right now it's later revealed that like Jun-ho had been doing his subs for like almost like the past 2 years. Like so like it will be almost 2 years since like Jun-ho might have totally woken up from his like maybe like kind of like a coma like state, especially when the primary. So like since then Jun-ho might have been carrying out his subs solely specifically like focused on like the field to like find like the studio island. This definitely remember so like definitely remember shows that like after like Jun-ho waking up from like the coma, like I was even before 2 years, like at that point, felt like I was even at once like Jumbo recovered. My Jumbo at that point felt like might have quickly recovered, and Jumbo straight away as he had recovered enough to be able to like travel like I was straight away. Jumbo might or like I was maybe even before like Jumbo properly fully recovering itself, like Jumbo might have straight away like the hospital might have started something to find so after like finding out about like the whole situation with like the police chief and everything, the police chief has done like everything like Jun-ho and straight away started searching for like Sang-yeon. And I know that the back then still the Jun-ho might have only found Sang-yeon and might have met with like Sang-yeon and might have talked to like Sang-yeon and everything. And like sitting the information that might be during that interaction they might have exchanged all the information about like everything they know about like the and about all their experiences in like the game and the studio meeting and everything. And I was wondering, like, definitely Jungho might have probably felt that absolute Sangyeon as like absolutely a trustable character that like Jungho might have revealed that truth that is really info is like the front man solely to like Sangyeon and Sangyeon alone. It's definitely all like about into that and so like about since that day like since before 2 years might have been precisely when like right now since it's like 2024 like I'm looking like it might have been exactly 2 years back, like in 2022, that I'm looking for things both Jun-ho as well as like Sang-yeon might have met again, and I'm looking them and I'm looking at starting to do possibly Sang-yeon that will be like funding like for like funding Jun-ho for like search over the seas to find like the studio island, especially my so like the name of the impressions that like the parallel happening between like two important characters like basically Jung-ho as well as like Sang-yeon like basically so them like constantly for like the last 2 years that having like basically trying to create stuff for to find like the frontman as well as the people connected to like this game for like the past and that with the past 2 years and still not that subs still not yielding any result and right now it's being like 2024 and also definitely in 2024 Sang-yeon and definitely Prating will be getting that the next Korean Cup in like 2024. It's definitely going to be everything. That's the scenario that I'm going to bring in. I'm going to bring like since like Sang-yeon right now has crossed off like the date of like 19 and so like it will be on the date of like 24 of that month. But I'm going to bring that in 2024 on the date of like the month of on the very day of 24 like I'm going to bring like Sangyon will be getting the like next Studian card, especially when it's and it will be totally a different Studian card from like the very first Studian card that Sangyon had got, or even from like game card that Sangyon had got from like the airport. Like this time, like it will be like a totally different Studian card. Like game cards will be like looking way more special. And I'm wondering maybe it would be like a golden Studian card. It's also like a possible that I'm looking at. I'm wondering that Studian card should be most likely for like and like I'm wondering like Sangyon calling that number in the Studian card, and I'm wondering like Sangyon like frantically calling the number in the Studian card, and I'm wondering like at that point like I'm wondering it will be the frontman that will be answering but like it won't be info at that point. It will be that first person who plays that G on like the subway that who would be like the front man for like the 2024 game. It's like my personal theory and prediction. And basically, I'm considering like 2024 Squid Game to totally be different because like I'm considering like the 2024 Squid Game I'm considering might be like the Squid Game for like the winners. Like it would be like the winners Squid Game, like the scenario that I'm considering. So like since like the Squid Game has been going on since like 1999, like the winners of like Squid Game each year from all the way back from 1999 to like 2024, all those winners, like a Squid Game between all those winners. It's like what I'm was referring for like Squid Game in like 2024 movie. So like certainly I'm also like info as well will be participating as like a candidate in that 2020 for Squid Game. Certainly I'm also like so like I'm looking like all of the candidates that will be participating, Squid Game candidates that will be participating in like the 2020 Squid Game would be like winners of like the Squid Game uh, TCR, definitely member friends, and that will expand beyond as well as like info as well as all the remaining winners from like the previous two games till from 1999 that would be participating in that 2024 game like the scenario that I'm covering. And also my consideration right now, especially that like maybe even more of like a reason for like Jun-ho not being able to like find like this game identity. Like I'm looking on top of like my already existing working the I'm where like I'm looking like the this game building would be like a mechanical building where like the walls would be like automatically using remote would be able to be folded and basically like the game building itself would be like able to like fold itself into and basically would be able to like go would be in a mechanical manner would be able to like go underground the name of the that will be Howling Stadium building would be built. That the name of the famous. And on top of that, I'm also like Ilnam might have been such an extremely wealthy person, a billionaire that he might have it wouldn't just be that single Squid Game Island alone that like Ilnam would be having like something like uh, Ilnam might have even back then then from then Zimbabwe itself Ilnam might have just for to run like the Squid Game Ilnam might have bought like a bunch of Studio Islands, maybe like four Studio Islands in total, and with like each Studio Island having like a Studio building in it. So definitely members much. So like I'm also like and each of those Studio buildings would be like the mechanical Studio building that could like using a remote would be able to like rise to like the surface of like Studio Island as well as like go underground. It's like just a press of a button of like a remote, especially members. So this would also be like a main factor. Basically, like Jun-ho, Jun-ho definitely like for like the past 2 years, like having searched and like struggling to like even find like the studio and even after like Jun-ho had basically seen like during his like 2020 Squid Game infiltration had seen like the uh was like not asleep during like was so Jun-ho was not like an asleep kind of like a situation while interpreting and making it to like the 2020 Squid still for Jun-ho to still not be able to like find like the that the Stadium Island will especially due to like the Thursday reason especially one of the frame. So like I'm looking like after like the 2020 Squid Game like I'm looking like maybe like I'm looking like the 2020 first Squid Game might have taken place in another island. But like my brother mentioned that like there will be at least four Stadium Islands in total belonging to like Ilnam, which like after Ilnam's death might have been like give handed over to which after like Ilnam's death like another thing it will be like info that will be in charge of all that and having access to like all that I think definitely of the frame but like I'm looking after like the 2020 secret game like the 2021 good game might have taken place in like the second island which would be at like an even more distant location from the 2020 Squid Game item. And like the 2020 third Squid Game might have taken place on another island with a bit distance away from like that island. And like the 2024 Squid Game right now would be taking place in like the fourth uh, Squid Game island. It's like the scenario that I'm looking. So like it would be to that fourth uh, Studium Island where like there would also be like a Studium building and so like it will be through that fourth Studium Island that Ambassador like Swangyeon in like 2024 would be taken to where like Ambassador specifically mentioned that it would be like not a regular Studium but it would be like a Studium between like the winners in which definitely info would be participating as like a Studium candidate alongside Swangyeon like living with scenario that Ambassador of the topic and Ambassador and so that the internet of the emissions in terms of the like you to like receive like a special student card uh, to participate in like the 2024 game. Like I'm also like since that's like the scenario that I'm also bringing. I'm also bringing like writers and beyond would be like getting that student card Sanjay would be calling the number, and even after the call would be over, like I'm doing Sanjay straight away also calling like Jun-ho as well. Definitely not the same, but people like Sanjay and Jun-ho at that point would be like uh, brainstorming and coming up with the ultimate strategy to basically how to like basically, and Sanjay definitely would be like entering in like that 2024 Squid Game, you know, like the intent to like finally put an end, permanently put an end to like the Squid Game. Like the scenario that I'm looking. So like with that intent, like I'm looking Sangyon as well as jump of strategizing, and like I'm looking once like Sangyon would be taken would be when it's time, it will be time for like the 2024 Squid Game. Like I'm looking Sangyon like once again like entering into like another plan, Squid Game ban, and at that point like I'm looking like once again like at that time as well like info simply following after like that Squid Game ban. And during the numbers written luckily along with like info along with like Jun-ho. And Jun-ho will be following that video man, and along with like Jun-ho definitely there will be that policy as well. So it's definitely not very impression. Also right now it's like Sanjay sending out to like entire team that we have hired to like basically search and find the mysterious guy who plays the Dakiji that can be still even then like for like Sanjay not being able to like have get himself a character since like Sanjay have in fact seen the face of the person he plays so that if he gets like for still for Sanjay to not be able to have like a character sketch of like that person. Like I'm remembering it would be precisely because of that maybe like I was wondering like even with all the best like I'm like Sanjay my would be only be able to like get a character sketch through Jun-ho, and I'm also thinking like since like Jun-ho's current situation with like absolutely no one like without any evidence like I'm also like even Jun-ho won't be able to like Jun-ho need to like convince that they be able to receive for like Jun-ho to be able to like get access or like permission to be able to like get himself a character sketch of the with like Sangyon's help from like the state is definitely my personal impression. So like this will be the sole reason for like Sangyeon, even with all his like Sangyeon still not being able to like have himself like a proper character sketch of like of the face of like the person who plays the Dakiji is definitely my personal theory and impression by time. Okay, so like the feeling of orientation right now with like Jun-ho right now like diving into like ocean with like time sleep and everything like I'm for like so then Jun-ho still might have definitely not gotten his hands at all on like the form of Jun-ho that like fell into like the sea once like Jun-ho had fallen from like the jet. But never the emotion, but like I'm looking like definitely I'm looking definitely for it to be a parallel because like I'm looking like Sangyeon's like huge sub large scale sub for like the person who plays the strategy and everything. I was like repeatedly ending up being like a failure, and I was like eventually once like Sangyeon would be like extremely like disappointed, like and I was like on that very same day. Like that like Sangyeon had really got it like first to game chart like at that point as well I was with Sangyeon like spending so even more money in this league and like desperately that spending the entire day that surfing on the subway station and everything to find like the person playing it that easy. But like Sanjay not being able to like find it. It's like the scenario that I'm doing. Sanjay would be like extremely disappointed. And I'm like it would be like night time and I was like as like Sanjay will be like returning back to it's like mortal. At that point I was like Sanjay would be most likely finding like this kid game chart under his door in his model at that point is like the one like Sanjay went back to like that model at that night. It's like the scenario that I was bring and but in the parallel happening with like Jun-ho in the case of Jun-ho was even like repeatedly diving and when that attempt like ending up being a failure. But like I'm also like it will be on like the day 24. The date will be 24. So since it's like 2024, I'm also like most like the date as well will be on like the 24th. That I'm also bring like the things that will be happening in parallel, specifically Sanjyon getting like the this like next to the end card, as well as like Jun-ho finding his like phone from through like finally through like multiple diving attempts like finding Jun-ho finding that mobile phone and Sanjyon getting that sticky card. Like these two things like happen simultaneously like the scenario that I was right and not to understand. So like my the same reason for like Jun-ho finding his like phone as well as like Sanjon shaping like just the games are like this both these both things like happening in parallel on the very same day and not on like the very same time. Like the scenario that I'm doing. And definitely about the friend still in the mind of the mention that like in the case of like Jun-ho, even though he will be getting back his phone like since like really three or like almost 4 years I think like usually have probably passed since Jun-ho dropping his phone to like the ocean. But like by now like Jun-ho that phone might be in such an extremely damaged situation that basically that Jun-ho he like totally was it like totally desperately like bringing like the phone to like the station, but like while they will be trying to like check the phone like it will be so extremely damaged that like they won't be able to like retrieve back that way like basically that evidence of like that sort of like Jun-ho had taken like that as well not being possible, but like and Jun-ho at that point was extremely disappointed saying that last book as well has basically has basically end up being point of like even that last book as well has gone there on the line the whole thing, but like I'm looking that would be when Jung-ho gets extremely disappointed at that point he went especially when like Sang-yeon's call and but like Jung-ho gets most likely getting Sang-yeon's call with like Sang-yeon telling Jung-ho that basically he has got like still get draft. Just like the eventual scenario that this is the quick and again. So definitely my good question for media like about that basically since like due to like Sang-yeon and using up so much money to like just to like basically find that person who plays the identity with all this like Sang-yeon's like now games up and everything like and it's been going on for like 30 something years like and was like maybe due to this response of like maybe affect about that like after like the 2020 Squid Game like I'm looking like in like the country that Sanjon been like I'm looking like after like the 2020 Squid Game like the 2024 Squid Game after maybe might have pushed place or like maybe might have not even taken place. But like I'm deferring like the 2022 as well as 2023 in 2022 as well as 2023 uh, number of like two games might have not taken place at all due to like the slack stuff by San Jones, definitely by the preemption. So like I'm looking like maybe like I'm looking like to like so like at that point I was like info might want to like conduct like just the games is also like about because I'm looking so like I'm like and info I'm sitting to my permission that like info will be like some of like now and info right now will be in sharp and like that people see and everything is the human trainer. So like I'm looking like info might right now want to like keep like the skill games going and like info right now would be totally seeing like Sanjion as just like obstacle that he needs to like get rid of. So like for just two games to like continue. It was actually about driving. So like I'm looking like maybe like right now in 2024 to get rid of like the obstacle Sanjion. Like I'm looking like maybe like Tinho maybe being the one that will be like coming up with the idea to like contact like two games in like 2024. But like due to like but like I'm looking like Tinho deciding to like conduct like Squid Games in 2024 in like a different way in which like it would be like the winner this game. So like that way to like prove that again to like and the 2024 again presidents only intended to like get rid of Sanjeev like basically that way the 2024 game taking place and the in Sanjeev getting that invitation card is like with an artist that I'm bring and definitely able to bring like info as well would be participating in like the 2024 Squid Game and able to connect in that Squid Game able to bring like info would be like since like able to bring like the info would be like the in charge of like the person right now running like the industry experience. Like I'm in charge like after like in stuff like I'm position like so info like totally cheating in that 2024 experience with like info simply receiving like even before entering in like the 2024 game like info as like a candidate like info having giving like the order to like game of the like basically to like info preparing everything before like him entering into like the 2024 game innocently as like a game candidate even before that like basically info like basically assigning like a bunch of scheme of those to like said they give that like clue as to like what the upcoming game will be through like the food and everything like exactly like in the past like thing like the not trying to like so like I'm moving in such a way like people trying to see his way into like winning like the 2024 to get and which will be like the 2024 game of like between like all the winners from 1999 and in which like the games will be targeted especially towards like Sanglion to have like Sanglion end up losing and dying it like because like Sanglion will be the only obstacle is the new because like the game winners from like 1999 like to 2019 like all those game winners might have like after like winning the stadium they might have opted down and went down the fair lights and it might have been only Sangyeon I know might have been like the only game winner that might have after winning the game might have like might be like basically targeting like the respective game continuing on the trend. So like Sangyeon right now would be like certainly obstacle for like info so like that way I'm basically like eventually Sangyeon getting that good game card and like to bring Sanjeevan into like the 2024 game to so it's especially targeted to at like Sanjeevan to take Sanjeevan like in the given scenario that I'm the game is range. So there's a definitely going to represent right now with like Jun-ho right now like basically when like coming up there I think such extremes that so that with like workers all over like basically Jun-ho right now still starting about like this game and then that's the like Jun-ho's phone like right now there's a scenario to be like Jun-ho's like that both like basically getting caught in one of the workers and capturing the collective scenario that I'm looking for. And it will be like at that point like both Jun-ho as well as like the five of the both will be that going under like the sea that way due to like the getting caught in like, the world pool and that way like I'm getting twenty during the world pool like while Jun-ho will be like taken down to like the bottom of the sea like I'm there like I'm like Jun-ho will be like finding like the phone. It's like lost phone. It's like the scenario that I'm looking for. So like I'm looking like that basically Jung-ho will be like only feeling as if like basically that she's about to die and like Jung-ho will be about to lose conscience. But like at that very last moment will be when like Jung-ho is actually see like his phone at like the open floor like the scenario that I'm doing. So like quickly Jung-ho like really getting that as a surge of kind of the determination to like survive and will to survive and Jung-ho quickly taking the phone and I'm most likely Jung-ho also probably maybe succeeding in like saving the boatman as well. Survive up with the boat as well and basically Jun-ho basically like being able to like make it back. And about the Jun-ho like basically swimming and reaching shore uh, on this island and about from that island would be like the 2020 game island is also like in this scenario that I'm able to bring up well, but at the name of the Korean option right now, it looks like the person playing that is finally making a return after like 2 years worth of like worth of like some just hiring all this like huge team to like search for the person with strategy like all of a sudden right now. Like interrogated for all of a sudden for like the person playing strategy, all of a sudden like mysteriously making sure that return all of a sudden like and playing with some random person and the different strategy methods of impressions are like this would be according to like most likely according to like import plan or plan and orders to like get rid of that champion. So basically because of like champion and this like six like to team search the thing of this person with like strategy like basically like the person with strategy as well as like there are the others as well working for the and strategy playing strategy that and that way strategy through the strategy process to like recruit like all these people to like stadium. That process might have not been possible for like maybe all the way from 2022 to 2023 and it's definitely when the trend is like the stadium probably might have not even taken place during that, maybe also during like 2021 and 2022 and 2023, definitely solely due to that them not being able to like have anyone have the people working in like the studio not being able to like play strategies solely due to like beyond like the relentless props for like about the name of the friend. So like right now all of a sudden like with the one of the people hired by the two people that had by and you want to like search for like working with strategy like all of a sudden right now them spotting like this person playing strategy right now. I'm also trying that would be precisely for according to like the order of info to like eventually get to totally get Sanjeon to like enter into the 2024 game where they will be able to like eliminate that 2024 game itself will be precisely targeting Sanjeon to eliminate Sanjeon so that like once Sanjeon dies like basically from like 2025 onwards like they could like continue like their Squid Games as normal through like the data play process. It's definitely my very interesting. So this will be the plan. So like I was even right now, like one of them that person playing the strategy, like one of them right now is going up after like 2 whole years of like no sign of him. Like I'm even need to be precisely to that way in a convincing manner, like give like the Squid card to like Sangyeon to like basically have like the Squid card get to Sangyeon for like the special Squid game, which would be like the Squid game between like the winner from like 1999. It's definitely not the same. Like, so like definitely the scenario that happened to me is definitely right now with like the those two people like who's like working for Sangyeon right now, like by the time they will be able to like make it to like the other side and towards like the person playing the Dakiji, like once again like he will be like ordinary superior. That's like the scenario that another thing. But there will be that studying card right there with that random person who was like playing like the studying with the Dakiji person, like the scenario that I'm able to straight away those studying workers like quickly snatching that studying card and another thing that way like then bringing that studying card to even though they would be extremely disappointed, like they weren't able to catch like the person playing with the IDT. I was wondering if it could at least still escape. And like, even though they won't be like catching like still I was wondering them bringing that game card to Sangyeon and them telling Sangyeon about like, them having it. And that card itself will be more than enough of like an evidence for Sangyeon that like they were like I was like and that was different, like, definitely at that point, Silpan was different, like, Sangyeon totally giving that, like, reward money for, like, so, people hired by Sangyeon to, like, support, like, back in the guy, and then when Sangyeon straight away, uh, using that, like, Squid card, like, Sangyeon straight away calling, and then straight away, like, I'm from the other side, like, the frontman would be speaking like the frontman straight away telling like without even saying anything like it would be from like the other side like the things would be said because like they would be like by now totally well and fully aware as to like the current mindset of like Sangyeon and so like I'm looking back according to that trap like I'm looking it would be like them from like the other side speaking towards like Sangyeon rather than asking for like Sangyeon's speeches like the scenario that I'm looking and them I'm looking straight away telling Sangyeon about like the game of winners and if like Sangyeon wants to participate in it or not. And they will be absolutely all confident, absolutely confident that Sangyeon will definitely be saying yes. And that's exactly what I'm looking to happen. Sangyeon saying yes. And after saying yes, like Sangyeon straight away calling Jun-ho. And especially with like the current situation of Jun-ho being like Jun-ho finally deciding to like call it twist and Jun-ho deciding to like end his like relentless quest so far for his like phone as well as his game and like has like Jun-ho to make his friend like Jun-ho to be getting the call from Sangyeon saying like he has finally got of like the game that is like the scenario that I'm sitting on the him. Okay, so like definitely like my question right now is for like this woman like Jun-hee like basically getting a Squid Game card as well as like the person she's like calling like basically as well that guy as well like getting a Squid card as well as like him being like the person right now playing the Dakiji with like the person who plays for Dakiji like I'm definitely my impression right now is me that like Jordan would definitely I'm bring would be like the younger wisdom of Jun-ho definitely my friend so like I'm looking like Jordan as well as like Jun-ho would be like action brother and sister that would be having like the very same parents while I'm looking like in the game of uh, the case of like Kim-ho as well as like Jun-ho and Jun-hee, like them three would be having like the same, their mother would be like the same, but like In-ho as well as like uh, In-ho as well as like Jun-ho and Jun-hee, like their father would be different, and Nam would be like the father of like In-ho, while like in the case of like Jun-ho as well as like Jun-hee's like father, like it would be like uh, their mother might have remarried after getting divorced from that. Till now, it's definitely my preferred impression. In like the past, it's definitely my preferred. Okay, so like definitely number three impression right now is like the person playing the strategy right now. So casually walking around in the shop and buying a bunch of funds, like and even that would be like 100 bucks. So because like him, because of him right now buying like 100 lottery. But different like the bunch that for the quantity of bunch absolutely exactly 100 definitely number 3%. And right now, but the scenario to be like different like a public game with like Sangyeon that's like the person playing the Dakiji versus like Sangyeon like right now those are like a game in public that's like going to happen right now. It's like it's another that I'm doing because like right now it's like him totally being so casual right now without even bothering about any stealth or anything like him walking around in that the open with like all those great number of funds as well as like all those like under lottery cards they have had like so like I'm looking definitely there will be 100 funds as well. So like I'm looking Definitely, the scenario that I'm considering right now is that like he will be like only walking around like the public, like he will be like only basically waiting for like Sanjun to like show up. And basically for the current like scenario to be like Sanjun only showing up in his car right in front of him, and basically like standing right in front of him while like that person playing it actually will be like surrounded by all of like Sanjun's like entire row of like men like hired to like search and to fight it. It's definitely one thing. So like that person playing the strategy like in the, maybe in like the middle of the street like basically being surrounded by all of like Sanjun's men and like Sanjun standing right in front of him, and at that point I was like the person playing like the strategy totally setting up the ultimate trap for like Sanjion. So get Sanjion to like enter into like fall into the trap and enter into like the box to game like I'm going to the person playing the strategy right now. Totally telling Sanjion, Sanjion straight away I'm going to like next in the angry manner like it is and aggressive manner like Sanjion will be walking towards like the person playing the strategy. Would still like absolutely like the smile on his face would be like talking back to like Sanjion. Like the scenario that I'm looking at. So I'm going to be straight away telling him that really that we are going to like capture you and basically right now going to like bring you to like the police. Like they have your phone and will be along the lines like Sanyon will be like constantly straight away initially talking to like with a smile, will be like talking to like that person playing the like and that when it's like scenario that I'm looking. But like I'm trying like him to like the person playing like if you're totally messing with like Sanyon like ego and pride like the scenario that I'm looking that like Ambassador and Sanjo totally falling for it, and Sanjo not that they not starting not to take advantage of like all those like men that like Sanjo right now have the same working for and to like literally capture that person playing the activity and to bring him into like the towards like Jun-ho instead of doing that Ambassador like the scenario to be like that person playing with that is like totally like mocking and making fun of Sanjo if he's like because like I'm looking at that point like I'm looking at the person playing that is totally challenging Sanjo to play like a game and this time the game won't be that easy and if Sanjo loses like Sanjo has to like end up into like the 2024 game will be along the lines like he will be telling Sanjo at that point it's like the scenario that I'm looking at so like the fourth thing will be like totally according to like the orders of info definitely this like to the person playing the strategy will be only following and doing all these things according to like the orders of info that need my totally should be like get Sangyeon to like enter into like the 2024 game so that like they could like totally get rid of like the obstacle or like the new agent they will be seeing Sangyeon right now as it's definitely my most impression. So that like they could continue on like the games as usual from without having all great number of people like starting up like people playing that league from 20 from the year 2025 on like if they get rid of like Sangyeon in like 2024 will be like their plan. So like I'm looking as for like what like the person so like I'm looking the person playing the strategy like asking like mocking Sangyeon and making fun of Sangyeon asking him to please share of like really actually playing like a game of like the person playing like the strategy like uh, basically as if like basically Sanjon is like scared that he will lose to him or I don't like like challenging Sanjon and like nothing with like Sanjon he go and try it and Sanjon only for falling for it and Sanjon and I'm just like him to tell Sanjon that basically if Sanjon wins like he would gladly come along with like Sanjon without any other reasons at all would be along the lines like the person playing the strategy would be telling Sangyeon, but like she would be also telling Sangyeon that like if Sangyeon loses, like Sangyeon would be having like enter into like the 2024 game. Would be along the lines he would be telling Sangyeon, and I'm assuming Sangyeon totally falling for it, and Sangyeon with that absolute confidence that the Sangyeon for confidence Sangyeon would be playing the game of like bread and lottery. That's as a person who's like playing the like just like the scenario, initial scenario that I'm going to play. And the game I'm going to bring definitely will be that basically I'm going to bring like the lottery will be like scratch lotteries, like those 100 lotteries will be scratch lottery. So like I'm going to bring like definitely the scenario to be like the game would be where like the person playing like that would be like telling someone to like pick one by one, uh, pick each a single lottery in each turn and basically that way, like, Sandra will be picking a lottery card as well as that the person playing the strategy will be picking a single lottery card, and then both would be like having to like scratch those two lottery cards simultaneously. And if like the numbers in like the lottery is like higher for whoever like the number in like, and they will be comparing like the numbers in each of the lottery cards after scratching, and if like for like the person who's like number in like the lottery card is like lower, like he would have to like keep a single one at that point. Just like the scenario, like that would be like getting a lower number in like the lottery card would be considered as like having low that round. So definitely one of the reasons. That way, like them taking 100 turns, like each of like the 100 lottery cards were like the one who loses each turn would have to like keep a one as like the consequences, like the scenario that I'm without the brain. That way, like I was like the game happening between like Sanjeon and like the person playing the RPG, like the scenario that I'm playing. And definitely, I'm between the person playing the RPG would be like once again having that absolute extreme of confidence in his like luck alone. It's definitely member three and pressure. So like considering that way, like them playing this game of like between like threat and lottery, and I'm like eventually that exact person you're losing to that eventually once again like ending up losing to that getting defeated by that person playing like that like the scenario that happened and by then like Sangyeon would have eaten so much of like the ones that basically Sangyeon would be only feeling extremely that would be feeling that extreme discomfort but on top of that like Sangyeon straight away like one in like the last lottery like that like Sangyeon and like the person playing like that he would be taking and like once like Sangyeon would be losing that and would be that way eating that final one the 100 one like at that point I'm just like the person playing the Dakiji once again with like a smile like walking up to Sangyeon and basically putting that like good game card picking that the good game card and basically putting it into like Sangyeon's pocket at that point and like with a smile like him leaving just like that and Sangyeon like due to the like Sangyeon that Sangyeon deep down would be having that absolute passion for like the kind of like game all the way from like the child experience that Sangyeon would be playing. So like I was wondering the place going to the reason like Sangyeon won't be able to like break this word and basically uh, use all of those men who would be like with us in this entire game between that would be like circling around like Sangyeon and like the guy who plays the Dakiji and like they would be like watching the entire game between like Sangyeon and the person playing Dakiji of like this game of like Fred and Audrey and like even after like Sanjeev will be losing to him, like Sanjeev won't be able to like tell all of this like men to like basically forcefully capture like break into Sanjeev's word and forcefully capture like the person who had won against like person playing the actually who at that point would have won against like Sanjeev like the scenario that so like Sanjeev totally keeping his word at that way. Sanjeev entering into like the 2024 good game as like a candidate is like the scenario that I'm looking at. But still I'm also definitely something like Limbo Sanjon will be entering into like this studio as like a candidate. Still Sanjon will be entering with that absolute intent to like put an end to like the studio for months and for all for permanently to put an end to like the 2024 studio will be that absolute intent that Sanjon will be entering like the 2024 studio. Yet while at the same time like and a person with Sanjay before entering definitely would be meeting up with like Jun-ho and basically would be showing Jun-ho the car and everything and then like Sanjay was like about to like entering to like the game and actually Jun-ho seeing this as his like next biggest like opportunity to like find info and that way like Jun-ho as well said the and that will example as well like tell me like following Sanji on like the scenario that I'm looking. And I was like maybe like in the case of Jump I was different that definitely I can remember the same example that like Janchi would definitely be the younger sister of like Jump I was like maybe it would be after like Jump would be like once again fully infiltrating into like the stadium building and like Jump would be like maybe through the air ventilation area like while Jump will be like stealthily watching like the moving and making it to like the room where like the student candidate will be, and there might be when like Django will be getting that next bigger shock on seeing like one of the student candidates being like Django's own younger sister like Janki. It's like an eventual scenario that I'm looking so like at that point I'm looking at Django having another like biggest task to basically save his like younger sister. Janki is like the scenario that I'm looking at. And I'm just different like probably coincidentally without realizing who Janti is like I was like Sanjay that eventually bonding and forming like the bond of friendship like eventually through their interaction as they would be like progressing as Janti and like Sanjay would be progressing through like the studio along with like the other student candidates like but like eventually I'm Sanjay and Janti not upon getting along but like through the hardships of the between them eventually bonding and like that absolute bond of like friendship being formed between like Sanjay and Junkie is like feeling good scenario that I'm saying. And that way like Sanjon helping Junkie out a lot. in like with the Sangyong experience like with like already having played like the 20 in this film, like with that experience like Sangyong totally helping out Junkie a lot in like the 20 in the first begin with like trading scenario that I'm able to become experience. Okay, so like that leave us with very impression right now with like the person who plays that the Dakiji that right now going crazy to like the extreme to like the point of like destroying all that threat like and so the thing right now with like even saying that like he had given them two choices that basically who went with the other one like basically and so like I'm just putting like what like definitely with like him also like approaching like the two people that like only right now spying on him. Definitely because of like him being the like the bottom of place that I'm being well and fully aware of like Sanjeon. Those two people being fight like working for Sanjeon. Definitely I was able to definitely able to bring as for these two options that like the person playing Daggy is if I know telling to like the homeless people without the clue at all. Like basically like what he will be like talking about would be like actually and I'm for like definitely he would be totally expecting that the those two spies of like San John maybe most likely are recording everything he's doing right now. So that definitely will change. So like it should be like a message for like San John by Jun-ho. It's definitely my good friend. And definitely I'm considering right now maybe mention whether it is like how extremely like in a crazy manner like just like person who plays the strategy right now reacting to like just over like again like I'm also trying like if you just like I'm also most likely the person who plays the strategy would be most likely the younger brother, the actual younger brother of him who like I'm looking like it will be like the person who plays the strategy I'm looking like would be like the actual second son of like Ilna. It's definitely my impression. So Ilna might have totally corrupted like the mind of like the younger brother of Inho to like the point of like and I was like unlike in that Inho state like to the according to my brother impression like Inho might have only met Ilna like Inho might have been might have gotten separated from Ilna at a very young age due to like Inho's like mother totally like getting divorced from like most likely getting a divorce from like Ilna might have been what might have happened like to the system like the majority of the in-house life info might have developed its like mother and basically but like Jun-ho and their mother and these are the reason for like info still having proper emotions and info still struggling to like take the life of the runner younger brother like Jun-ho back then from like the clip and for that it's definitely info even allowing like Jun-ho to like survive like all that like would be solely due to the which was definitely one of the but like in the case of info like actually younger brother like this person playing the Dakiji, he might have grown up his like entire life with like Nam is definitely my brother. So that way like Nam might have only sort of like the mind of like that younger brother of the actual younger brother of info who would be like the person playing the Dakiji. And this will be the reason for like him probably acting being extremely crazy about like a game and for that and like the thing that is going like the first time everything like is due to like him being like a crazy guy up due to like him growing up with like in especially in the brain so definitely this would all be like a message like especially directed at like Sanjon and so with the preparation for like the person playing the acting like while giving these two choices to like all those homeless people like certainly avoiding like those two spies of like Sanjon definitely one of the so that like they could like because they record everything that's like happening that he's doing like that person playing the Dakiji is doing and send it to like Sanjon so that like the message will get through to like Sanjon. So definitely one of the drivers and that's what like two choices like the person playing the Dakiji is right now speaking about right just drawing like the breath. Number like the two choices might have been like the two choices that like the frontman during that call uh basically as like Sanjon in like the last was like about to after like winning the game and like and I think like after a year like basically as like Sanjon was like about to board that plane like basically that choice that basically Sanjon had to like basically either that two choices that Sanjon had to either board the plane or to like basically the not board the plane and like since like after like Sanjon like after like decided taking the decision to like not board the plane like this and to board the plane like that decision like Sanjon had taken that like Sanjon might have been like for that plane like Sanjon might have been planning on like traveling to like America to like meet the or to like maybe even live at America. Maybe Sanjon might have even got managed to get done on a citizenship to like even live. in America, even though Sangyeon might still not be able to like, get custody of the stock. Like still, Sangyeon might have eventually decided to like basically live, go to America and live, to basically live at a place that's like totally close to where like his daughter would be living, and that way to like leave his country and this place to live in like America, so that like he could always see his like might have been like with that intent that ambassador in Navy, like Sangyeon might have been about to back then like about to go on that flight. But like ambassador like Sangyeon taking the decision that like Sangyeon still taking the decision to like literally not board that flight and like instead like to turn back, and like the moment Sangyeon had this years that taken the decision to like not board the flight, like Sangyeon had basically also taken the decision to like especially bring the destroy like the studio and capture like the people like running the studio and everything like and finance to like the game. So like this might be that two choices that like through that phone call back then like the man like which might have been a in that might have spoken like Sangyeon back then and told it Sangyeon to like board the plane like basically like to that person that had told Sangyeon at that point to like he just board the plane. Like that might have been the important remember. So like I'm just maybe that might have all been not on purpose and basically Sangyeon like basically deciding to like not board the plane. Like basically that might have secretly angered like the front man, like that might have angered like a go back then. It's definitely one of the and like since then like basically the entirety of the three ways that basically Sangyeon had basically using his belt like basically created this huge team and basically causing then to like basically cross around like on subway and everywhere like basically to in search of like the person playing the Dakiji and everything like basically that way like Sangyeon spending all of the wealth in trying to like capture like the people behind like this game and to finish like this game that might have seriously frustrated and anger like over like the past 3 years, and that might have even affected like the uh, affected and might have even caused like the Squid Game to like maybe not to get interrupted and not take place for like the past 3 years is also like a negative element for it. So like that way like info might have suffered like huge loss in this like overall well that new members like info would be like far way greater than that will be that even Sangyeon infected. Definitely not the ambition. So that this might be the precise reason. So like I'm just going like it might have not just been info alone that might have gotten triggered, but like info young for example, so we most likely this person playing the Lati as well might have totally gotten triggered. It's definitely my different impression. So like uh like that person playing the Lati right now saying as like he's like destroying like the friend like the him right now like with like frustration and with like anger like him right now shouting out like basically it was you that wasted your choice, like along the lines, like with him saying that, like I'm looking like by wasting like the choice, like I'm looking like what he might be referring to, like basically will be like the current situation of Sangyeon, because like I'm looking right now, like the situation of Sangyeon would be most likely that like I'm looking like for that huge sum of money, the reward money from winning like the twins in this good game that Sangyeon right now have in his like bank account numbers and like that would be like right now I'm looking all that money would be like getting paid up. Exactly remember the so like right now that by wasting that choice and like by like destroying all that like I'm looking like it would be like symbolizing of like basically it would be like the person playing the attribute in a symbolical manner, trying to like reveal Sanjong's like current situation where like Sanjong might have not realized, but like the entirety of like the money in Sanjong's planet of might have gotten like using like the info using the all of it like influence and all might have somehow managed to like make that happen. Where like right now Sanjong's like bank balance will be absolutely zero. It's definitely never been and that would be like totally done to like Sangyeon by info as like a punishment for like Sangyeon for picking the wrong choice, like the choice of like not deciding to like board the plane back then and move on with like Sangyeon's like instead of picking that choice like Sangyeon taking for the past 3 years like picking and living with that choice of like being serious attempt to like consistent attempt for like about 3 years into trying to like stop like this with game and destroy Imperium like this will be I'm also going like will be most likely a punishment and like this is like the scenario that I'm also doing. So like that way like I'm also going like with like him destroying all that threat like the person playing the actively destroying all that threat and him still standing there smiling with the solely due to like him definitely patiently waiting for like Sangyeon to like drive up there with his like car so that like for him using that for example of like basically the crush Bangal as well as the lottery like working to totally reveal as to like the current situation that Sanjon is in. That basically that about like Sanjon's punishment, like for example, if you throw him that I'm looking Sanjon right now would be like most likely one Sanjon is making it to where he that person playing but actually will be like he would be like revealing to that Sanjon about like Sanjon's current situation. And Sanjon that way at that point being shocked and checking like his bank balance, maybe through his like a Sanjon form and basically Sanjon probably finding out that basically his bank balance is at his like account is like zero, like the scenario that I'm going to remember. And straight away, like Sangyeon being shocked, and at that point, felt like the people who are like working for Sangyeon right now, felt like I'm like seeing that, like finding out finding out that Sangyeon has zero balance, and then straight away leaving is like also like the scenario that I'm looking at. Sangyeon at that point will be having absolutely no way to like survive. Once again, like Sangyeon will be like feeling as if he's like back to like square one, but even worse, will be along the lines maybe Sangyeon will be feeling right now right at that point of like the scenario that I was bringing. And at that point, I was bringing the person playing like the RPG, smiling at Sangyon and in front of like the crowd of like the homeless people and was bringing like the person playing with the RPG. Once again, pulling out his like Dakiji cards and giving it to Sangyon and telling Sangyon to like play is like the scenario that I'm looking at. So like I was playing like Sangyon at that point would be extremely enraged and frustrated and extremely enraged at like that person. And I was like Sangyon and even Sangyon at that point without him having any money, like at that point, like Sangyon won't be able to like do anything about like that. Even though Sangyon by then would have made it to like that once again to that person playing the RPG, like Sangyon won't be able to do anything or capture him or do anything because of like basically like Sangyon right now having like zero balance and absolutely powerless and all that. It's definitely the scenario that I was in. So like Sangyon at that point, like it's only that kind of in an angry manner, like at that point, like the only thing in Sanjon's mind would be to like basically disrupt like the extreme ego of that person who plays the RPG by defeating him in this game. It's like the scenario that I was in. And I was trying like the person playing the strategy at that point, maybe even telling Sangyeon that basically if Sangyeon wins in this like strategy game right now, like if Sangyeon plays the strategy game with him right now, and if Sangyeon wins, like then all that bank balance from Sangyeon would be like returning back into like Sangyeon's account. But if Sangyeon loses, like Sangyeon would have to like enter into like the 2020 game. It's like the bet that that he will be making. So like I'm looking at Sangyeon with that attitude, determination and anger, like playing that this could game in an extremely aggressive manner against like the person who plays with RPG, but like still I'm a friend like that totally falling for in being in like the favor of like the person playing the Dakiji and basically Sangyeon do things to like the person playing the Dakiji and at that point Sangyeon will be extremely frustrated and enraged with the person playing the Dakiji but like him straight away like once like Sangyeon breathes into him like I was like the scenario to be like him straight away with like a smile like giving that card to game card like once again to like Sangyeon and basically him leaving just like that and that way like Sangyeon like entering in like the 2024 Squid Game along with like Jun-ho's like little younger sister like Jun-ho is like the scenario that I'm looking for. And like the other guy who had basically played Dakiji with like this the person who plays with Dakiji like Jun-ho trying to call might be either her husband or like her boyfriend. Definitely not different. So like I'm looking like same both like definitely would be entering into like the 2024 game and Sangyeon as well would be like definitely like second to that William like the scenario that I'm looking for. But like I'm looking definitely Sangyeon the first in the entry and frustrating that like in that 2024 film as like Sangyeon will be entering it like Sangyeon will be absolutely determined to like totally destroy that even though Sangyeon is like all by himself with absolutely no money and that thing would be like situation for Sangyeon at that point with Sangyeon would be absolutely determined to like actually to not like play or like complete like the stadium, but to like definitely eventually get all these weekend and like a whole bunch of like this weekend candidates easily to like get them on like Sanjay's side, like by with like Sanjay's experience and everything to give them that feeling of hope through Sanjay. And basically that way to like get them all to like to totally to listen to next Sanjay and do what Sanjay say so that like eventually throw them like that as the strategy like Sanjo planning on like this like not playing the game but like bringing down like the stadium of and destroying like the Squid Game and that putting that entering down and putting an end to like the Squid Game. Like this is like only the Indian alone like and the family on like basically entering like the 2024 Squid Game and release like this scenario that I'm putting another